loading.
Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome to Jump Street Podcast. We're back, baby. We're back.
What is up? Episode 159. We are back. It's been a little bit of a break since everything, but we're back in action. It's been a busy month, doing a little bit of traveling, a little bit of work with everyone, but here we are,
good.
back.
Busy's good.
Back in the saddle.
Hell yeah. How you doing, Billy? How's everything been? It's been a bit. We caught up in New York before a few weeks ago. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's been good. It was a busy month for me, so I went back to New York quick. It was like my wedding anniversary. It was my wife's birthday, so it's just like, busy. And also, Levi was in town with his girlfriend Fiend, so we were hosting for a while and had to get some stuff done. But it's all behind us now. But it was a good month, and it was all good. Quickly, before I get into the spiel and everything, just a quick update on the MetroCard Classic. I know a lot of people have been asking me about dates. It's been, I'm going to make an official announcement coming this Friday, but we were projecting a date on the 22nd to the 24th of August. It's looking like we might push it back to October. We're trying to find a date around then because we've just had some problems with the city and locking down the location and the space. So I'm going to leave an official announcement on Friday, but there's just a quick update on that for everyone who's been asking. With that, I'm going to jump right into a quick spiel. If you don't already, please follow us on all of our social media platforms. We have a Facebook, we have an Instagram. You can follow us. We have a YouTube page. If you like what you're hearing, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Leave a comment, share. It really helps. We have an iTunes. You can give us a 5-star rating. You can give us a review. We also have a Patreon. You can be a Patreon for as little as $3 a month. You have access to our guests and questions before anybody else. You have access to exclusive content. We have little segments coming in and out every now and then. We do section commentary. We do trick tips. We do inside outs, things like that. And you are automatically registered in a drawing, which we're about to do every month to win something for free from our online store. So we're about to do that, but that is what it takes if you want to be a Patreon. $3 a month.
Starting at $3 a month. There's different
Starting at $3 a month.
Starting at $3.
If you really love the show, give it $4. If you really love the show and you feel...
Give it 5, 10, 50. Who knows? Depends how much money you're making. Depends how much money in the bank. But let me give a shout out to our new patrons this week. We have Mike French, Megan Peterson, Joy Boy Tito, David Lee, and Cornelius Parkin. Thank you all for giving me names that I either know or can't pronounce. I really appreciate that.
Austin really likes that.
I do. I enjoy that. I get a kick out of it. But let's do our monthly giveaway. Like Billy said, every month we have everyone's name in our Patreon in a drawing. Where are we at? There we are. We got the wheel here. Spin everyone's name and you get to win one of whatever you want from our online store. So for this month, we have our Patreon winner is... We need a drum roll. Juice System. Hell
nice.
Yeah, Juice System.
Another name Austin can pronounce. This is going well.
this is gonna be a good episode. I can feel it already. We're going really well. But congrats, Drew System. We'll reach out to you to see what you want from our online store. And we have a WTF this week, as usual, brought to us by Patreon supporter, our new Patreon supporter, Mike French, featuring Van Cufton on Instagram with the first ever that I've seen pud slide on a kink rail. Have you seen a pud slide on a kink rail before, Billy?
No.
Yeah. So it was clean as hell too. Like didn't even budge. I remember when I first saw a fast slide on a kink rail. I think it was Alex Brosco fast sliding the kink rail in like KFC 3 or something. And now here we are decades later and someone finally has pud slid a kink rail. So
there's only one more step to take now.
Street?
Bring it to the street.
Bring it to the street. That's it.
But I mean, look at that. That's crazy. And that kid, Van Cofton, I think it might be, but he's like a very interesting skater, super good. Mm-hmm. And I think he's like in non-Moscow, Russia, like somewhere a little bit out there, and just skates like the unique spots, unique stuff. So check him out. Follow him if you don't already.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He kills it. Big shout out to you, Van Cofton, if we're pronouncing your name correct. But is that it for the intro, Billy? I think that's good, right?
I think so. I'm actually really excited to, well, I normally am usually excited to have our guest on, but I'm very excited to have this guest on. He's a very old friend of mine. I met him in, it must have been 2000 or 1999, 2000, 2001, around there. perhaps before some of our listeners were born, maybe. I don't know.
That's true.
But it's been a long time I've known this guy. I've seen him go through lots of different phases in skating, and he's always been there the whole time. And I'm really excited to get up with him today. So do you mind bringing him in, our guy?
Yeah, let's give it up for everyone. Give it up for Mr. Dre Powell.
Yeah. What up, bro?
We gotta get the cheers. We gotta get the cheers for Dre.
Yeah, brother. Chilling, man.
Oh my god! I gotta say, I love you got the section on in the background, dude. That's fire. That's fire.
I was like, I'm in the green room. What am I gonna put on for the green room?
We'll do a guessing game. People in the chat got to guess what video he's watching in the background, so we can't say it yet. Don't give it away. We'll see how good the knowledge is in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, that Fakey 7 just gave it away. That style. What's up, Dre? Thank you for coming on the show, though. This is awesome. People, like I was telling you before, people are so hyped that we're having you on. So people are fucking excited, man.
It's a pleasure to be on. I've watched you guys' channel grow and the platform grow, and it's very, very awesome. I'm happy for you guys, for sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks for taking the time to come on. You know, we've known each other for a long time personally. It's actually coming up on, I think we met when we were around 16, and, you know, it's coming up on like almost, we're right around the corner from like 25 years of knowing each other, just showing my age real quick, and not to put your age out there like that, but we've known each other a very long time. So, you know, I've known you from pretty early, but not from like the very beginning of your skating. So for those who don't know you, not just your skating, but like a little bit of an introduction, like where you're from, and maybe from there, how you were first introduced to skating.
So I grew up in North Carolina, Charlotte to be specific. Probably, I think I started skating, that was a while ago now. It was like, I want to say like 95, 96, you know, kind of like the classic era. By chance, my uncle came in from Europe, and he had a friend's son with him, and they were just visiting for the summer, and he wanted to get some rollerblades. So we have been, and I had already known about rollerblading and, like, you know, like hockey, street hockey and stuff like that. But I think that I went into the skate shop with him in Santa Monica, and I saw Majestic 12s, and then that really got me into wanting to skate. So, and then so I couldn't get the Majestic 12s that time, but I got like some cheap skates. And when I went back to Charlotte, I just started skating in Charlotte and ran into my whole little crew of kids that I grew up skating with down there.
Yeah, that's I mean, for me, I remember the first thing I saw of you was Elements 2, which I think, I don't know, was it Dave Temple, Joe Navarins? I'm not sure exactly who made it, but it was like the introductory section of like, during the time, this is when VHS came out, and you were looking forward to like every VHS that came out, and everyone was important, especially during that era. It was, each one was a step forward in the progression, especially the Elements video. Elements 1 was a huge banger, and Elements 2 is also a huge banger. For those who started maybe after that, maybe go back and check that out on YouTube. It's a really good watch. But Dre comes in the first section to the Beat Nuts, and shares a section with Dominic Sagona, and I think that's kind of like the first time that both that skating saw not only you but also Dominic Sagona, and it was just like it was a very stylish thing, because like it wasn't like even huge on like this difference in spots. A lot of it was on like this one rail. It looked like you filmed it in like 3 days, but it was just like super progressive and very stylish, and it brought it up forward. And I just remember how much of an impact that had. How did you get that opportunity to be in that video, and how was that whole process, especially being someone from the East Coast and working with someone like Dave Temple?
Well, I didn't really know Dave Temple like that. I mainly worked with Navarin. Navarin had flew into Atlanta, and my sister Nesrin was living in Atlanta, and I would go down there and visit a lot. And I had met Kevin Dowling and Walt and all the guys at competitions before. And then I had when we went to Woodward together, probably around that same time, you know, like probably like we were like 13 or 14. So I had made a friendship with them. So I was just in Atlanta, you know, by luck of the draw. And Navarin was coming down there, and he got a couple clips of us while we were there. I think that's how it went down. And Dowling was there. And I can't remember if we submitted any footage or anything like that, but I just know Navrin came for like the weekend and we had got everything done in like a couple of days, and then the rest is history.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
I also, because like that kind of ties into like you being like when you first came out, you, Sagona, Shane Scour, like all these guys were like the hot new prospects, like coming after like that first generation of people like Arlo and, you know, Brooke Howard Smith, Brian Smith. So I feel like you guys were that next staple in that thing and the first ones kind of trailblazing that. You were also in the Daily Bread issue, like I think it was called Class of whatever it was called, Class of 2000 or the New School issue, where it's basically like all like the future prospects without like, you know, using the name, and they picked like 16 people. You know, Bashi was in there, Mike French was in there, as we talked about on the last episode, but you were also in that mix.
Was it Halloran? Dustin was in there, right? Too, right? Halloran was in it.
I'm Halloran. I actually don't think Halloran
was in there. Dustin was in there.
I don't think Dustin was in there. It was like Walt, Dominic, Shane Scour.
You were in it too.
No, I wasn't in that. No,
Vinny was Vinny.
Vinny was
sure.
in there.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like a super cool thing to see. So you're like, at this time, like, where was your mindset at? Because I know you were rapping at that time as well. You've been rapping as long as I've known you, and you've been skating as long as I've known you. So like at this time, you know, you're like one of the hottest prospects in skating. You're pushing, you're trying to. So what's the mindset like, and what was everything like with all these opportunities?
So those opportunities were really awesome to like get those type of opportunities, you know, and it just like everything seemed like it was autopilot. Like I wasn't gonna have to do pretty much anything, which it was kind of like that for a little while, you know. Like I just got to skate and just get paid to skate and just like do whatever the hell I wanted, you know. But the game was still really small, you know, that at that point in time compared to like you know, the other action sports like skateboarding and stuff like that. But yeah, it was rad, man. I had a fucking great time, dude. Like. Yeah, honestly, like just being able to be in those magazines, I think we had it kind of good too, because we had like people that were real serious about the photography aspect of it too. Like we had like Braden Neal, who's like a skateboard photographer who shot for Box, and then we had like Wes Driver, and we had like all of these guys. Like, you know, James Reesky showed up at my house when I was like 14 and like knew who I was, or like 15. He was like, "Hey, you Dre Powell, want to come film with you?" And so I always had a lot of media guys around me that were already pushing, you know. So it was like I was really lucky. Then Kenny, you know what I mean, too. So yeah, a lot of opportunities I felt like were kind of already like they were already inherent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a super solid base of people to have, and I remember like a lot of those guys that you're talking about.
Yeah, like I had a lot of people that were working for Box and stuff. So like, you know, Kenny for sure helped a lot, and so. But James Reesky was a big help too. You know what I mean? Getting it out there and stuff like that. But the skating, but like from the picture side of things, I think whoever shot Class of 2000 was already in there. It was either Wes Driver or it was Braden Nell, and like that's how I was like real connected to Daily Bread and to them. You know what I mean? And Tom. It was sick.
And I got to make a correction. It wasn't Daily Bread, that thing. It was Box Magazine.
It was Box, right? Okay.
So shout out Sean Michelson. Thanks for fixing that.
It's crazy like the era back then, because at that time it was different than today, where if your scene didn't have a filmer or a photographer, you were nobody. Like, because Charlotte is like it's a pretty major city, but it's not like New York or LA or something like that. And it seemed like so hard for you to get out there. But James Reesky, he made some of the best videos ever. I think he was one of the best skate filmers or editor, I think, in my opinion, ever.
For sure.
And to have a photographer and stuff to get you in magazines when magazines were an actual thing at the time. Like,
exactly. That was
all
everything.
The pieces fell into place for you, it seems.
Yeah, exactly. I just had to be aware of them and just like, you know, put the work in. You know, I knew that like if I put the work in, I was gonna get whatever, you know, opportunities I could get out of the situation, because it was right there. You know what I mean? But it was a great time. And James Reesky, I think James had a connection to Drew Bacharach as well. So like when James moved to Charlotte, he was already had an understanding of kind of like how to set up a company, and like it was like he was really well just structured. He was really fun to work with too. He always picked me up in a big ass truck, riding around in the truck. You know what I mean? Like wow.
That's sick. No, that's sick. The obviously like James and Drew went on to do Life Plus, so like that connection went on to like be fruitful and make something really special for skating. Also, I can't forget about Jamel, Superheroes of the Underworld.
Yeah, dude.
If you've seen Superheroes of the Underworld, that is like a hell of a movie. It's like such a vibe movie, like Southern. Yeah. What was that experience like?
That was dope because it wasn't that the time when you came to my house. Didn't you come to my house?
Yeah, yeah. When I was like 17 or something, I
That was
stayed with you for a while. Yeah.
It was a rad ass time. I mean, Jamil was crazy as all hell, so it was just fun when you have like people around you that are down to skate, like whenever, go out in the middle of fucking night. And at that point in time too, like we would just go out and skate a lot. You know what I mean? So it was just like, nobody was like getting into trouble or anything like that. So it's just a real fun feeling to be able to just kind of like go out with your friends, no matter what time it is, and have like fucking generators or go skating wherever, fucking party if you want to, but the skating side of things was really like kind of what was driving that whole time. I don't know if you remember, right? That's pretty much what we did. We just like smoked a bunch of weed and went skating.
Yeah. And yeah, that's true. That is true. But
it's on that Mind Game shit, I think too, because like when England Video came out and when Mind Game came out, I think it kind of changed the way everybody looked at everything. At the way that we all looked at skating, for me at least, for sure. And we were already kind of just skating a lot, like with the mindset of just like being like this kind of like shamanistic, like monk kind of like lifestyle where you just very stoic lifestyle where you go skate and you come back and you go skate, you know what I mean? And you just rinse, recycle, repeat,
Yeah, no, it's like full skate life, especially at that time, and especially you being like one of like the like I said, trailblazers of that era than the one who was pushing. Like, you look at Second Regime, for example, and it was like the first kind of real, true skater-owned brand or brand that was being pushed like that. Josh Petty, Louis Zamora, and it was Josh, Louis, and Randy, right? And then their first AM team was Dre and Dominic, first two.
Yeah, we had like Ian McLeod on there too, I think.
Yeah, like Ian McLeod got on there. But I think like the first two was you and Dominic, if I'm not mistaken. I really hope I'm right about this. Yeah, they had to add "fuck your pros, our AMs are better." Sick.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a dope ad. And and also you were like part of like the early generation, like some would say like the golden era of razors. I remember even seeing like during the ego times, like you and Murda and Aragon like out in France. Like I was like actually on the team as an AM at the time. You guys are pros, like out like in France and doing everything with the artism shoots, and it just seemed like things were going in like such a cool direction and everything like that. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that's why kind of what I was saying about it feeling like it was on autopilot because it felt like all of these opportunities and stuff like that were kind of just naturally happening organically, before all of the pay to plays and I feel like it's always been about like who but it feels like now a lot more like for just doing it for the Instagram and the views, then it was like more organic. But that trip to France was incredible though. I mean, like artism, I wonder what's up with those guys. They had like a showroom in Paris and they were doing custom clothes, and then they had the rollerblades that were in there, and then they had like really high end fashion, and then they had their clothes, and they were really just doing it at a high level with the with Crazy Roller, with the magazine tied into that. So it was just like they were adding a lot of culture and a lot of different texture to like their expression of what rollerblading or inline skating, freestyle inline skating, grassy skating could be, within a scene. You know what I'm saying? So and it just being a microcosm of of sport and action sport. So, it was definitely a really, really fascinating time. But I wasn't like, I didn't have a manager then or anything like that. So I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
but that it's funny that you mentioned that about how artism, because I agree with you that like artism brought like a different texture into like the fabric of skating and what it could be by like kind of bringing that fashion element into it. I feel like that's always been a big part of your appeal and what draws people to you as a skater. Not only like your talent of skating and the tricks, but just like the whole picture of you. Like you kind of bring this like your fashion element to it that's very your style. You bring like this like hip hop element with it that's like part of like your music and everything like that. Could you expand on like how that's been like a part of who you are as a skater?
Yeah, no, I've always just like wanted to just like kind of, have an aesthetic that was pleasing to myself, And then, but I've always kind of been like followed like fashion, and my mom and my sister have always been like really stylish people, and so my grandmother made like suits back in the day. She made quinceanera dresses in Brooklyn, and like she used to make me like Batman. She made me a Batman costume when I was a little kid. And I was running around the Batman costume. You know what I mean? Like fucking thought I was the Dark Knight, dude. So it's like fucking kind of continued. I think going into skating, like the gear's gotten sicker, and then I've always wanted to kind of like have a lot of like sauce when I skate. I used to think to myself, I don't know if I even said this. I mean, I probably told this to friends, but I was like, I can't even skate good if I don't look good or if I don't feel good. You know what I mean? Mm. I would always, but it is what it is. When you're a little kid, you fall, you fuck your clothes up and stuff like that. You're like, oh shit, dude, I gotta, go back home or whatever, change up. You don't have enough clothes to wear and stuff like that. So your mom's like, why are you skating in your nice clothes? And you're like,
I want to look good.
Yeah, I want to look good. I don't give a fuck. Jeans are $300. They're like, you're fucking crazy. I remember you guys too, like coming up to New York. You guys had the crazy Visu's on.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of when you said the jeans. I was talking about Visu's. Calvin always had a fresh pair on. They were always fresh.
So, Calvin and Ramel would skate in like expensive jeans and Visu's and shit. Yeah, I was never. Dude, I used to get like $10 an hour or something. Like I wasn't getting a Visu's. Like I was doing like.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I still do this thing.
Yeah, dude, that shit was crazy. Like the outfit game in New York was insane. I think that too. Yeah. So that influence on me. I had like a lot of New York going on.
But that's why I felt like you were always like kind of melded in, especially at that time with the New York scene. But you also have like California in your like history and family, right? Like
my mom was from Brooklyn, and my dad is from South Central. And my mom moved from Brooklyn and came here to LA, met my dad here, and then my dad joined the army, and then that's how I ended back up on the East Coast. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I've had all my family is still here. I have a lot of family. Like my dad's side is here, and then my mom's side family is like Florida and New York still. So I had a lot of influence, I think, from both sides. I remember going to like New York and wanting to be like dressed like New York, and then going to Cali and then seeing the cholos with the fucking high socks and the fucking I go home and I'm wearing the Cali shit with like, even I went back every summer, I would come back home from visiting my dad, and I would have a different kind of style, would be a little bit different. And then like I went back one time with the Airwalks.
I'm surprised you were never like part of like Be Unique and everything at the time.
What?
I'm surprised you were never like part of Be Unique at the time. I feel like Billy said, you meshed them really well. With like,
I wanted to be. Be Unique was the shit, dude.
I feel like that was like a missed opportunity right there.
I mean, I was though. I mean, I was getting like you guys hooked me up with shoes and stuff like that. Like every time I go to New York, because you guys both wrote for Be Unique, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's weird to say now, but looking back, it's kind of like because Be Unique both wanted like Mike and Dre, but Be Unique, a lot of people don't know, is kind of like a amateur company at the time, and these guys were like bigger pros. It was hard to get the bigger people on Be Unique till later. It was very like New York based, but after it started kind of getting a little momentum, I think Dre and people like Frankie and
Aragon,
Dominic and everyone they started getting down with Be Unique regardless. So I feel like Dre was like unofficially part of it as well.
Yeah. You remember when the fortune cookies came out and you guys had all the dips going on?
Yeah.
And remember that time, like I got to go on the Ball for Real tour with Courtney and Chris, and you guys, that was an epic, dude. And like we did remember we did the Madison Square Garden show that one day?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you were like pretty much on. Yeah.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. So it was like supposed to be, autopilot. I don't know what happened, But it is what it is with business, and skating like that. But I think going back to you guys' question about fashion, for sure. I've always been mindful of that. And then like the ninja stuff. And then like, as you go down the rabbit hole and you keep fucking up clothes and stuff, I started to kind of want to design stuff, so I was like designing stuff. And then like, now in film school, you start taking like film classes and you start understanding vaudeville and like the way shit looks on camera, and like, so it starts getting interesting.
That's so sick. That's another element that I can see you definitely like, because it's a visual element of like how things look. And I definitely want to ask you about everything with school, but I just want to like stay on this for a minute. But it's interesting that you say your dad's from South Central, your mom's from Brooklyn, because that makes and having both those experiences, because that like speaks to like your style. I think that's very individual. and how that comes across. But so in this time, you ended up eventually getting like your pro skate from Razors, and you ended up moving to the Razors mansion.
Right.
That's a whole nother world and section, I feel like, of when blading was getting to a weird point. Did you see like an end
Yeah.
road there? Did you see like, okay, we're really doing it, we're living in a mansion now? What was that point like?
That point was like it was a kind of a weird point because we were definitely like kind of starting to like get to the end, come to the end of the road, but we still were like pretty hopeful as to what could happen out of that situation, and it was still a
Mm,
good experience, I think, to say the least.
right.
Because we got to reach an apex like in our skating evolution, and and to the point where we got to live for free for a couple of years at a nice house and skate and get the hell out of the hood, get the hell out of our neighborhoods, so it was definitely an interesting time.
Yeah,
It was
I mean, there's
crazy.
no question that skating was a vehicle for
Right.
most
Yeah.
people, and it seems like that's the case with you. I mean, as I personally know you, I know that is the case for you.
Yeah, it was,
It's
yeah,
been
it's
able to
crazy.
take you all over the world, and it's been able to take you here, there, everywhere, and then
I
you
know.
come back to California and then end up in a mansion, and seems like
Yeah,
a
that
wild ride.
it was a ride, dude. It was a big sacrifice, I think, too, because also, I mean, financially, we weren't getting paid as much as we probably should have, or doing as much as I think we could have, like, as far as like, coming up with more ideas for the company and which way it should go. But yeah, we did get a good time and a good experience out of it. But like I was not on the East Coast. I'm from the East Coast. My family's from the East Coast. So it's like you're putting in a lot of work into building something. Especially when you're on a different coast from where you're from. It's hard work, man. It's
Yeah.
like almost like training. We were constantly, we have to stay ready all the time.
Mhm.
So you go and waking up and going to skate every day. It's kind of, it could take the fun out of it. You know what I mean? When you're like getting paid to do
Yeah.
it, people
Mhm.
telling you what to do, and like shit was gets weird.
You
Yeah.
said,
Sorry.
well, you said about like before like shit went down, I guess, or like skating started taking a downfall.
Mm.
Besides pay cuts happening, I guess maybe less travel. Did you see anything with your own eyes that you were like, oh shit, skating is like going down now? Like, were you going to events and they were like, you notice less people? Like, did you see anything else besides your sponsors telling you that sales were down or something like that? That skating was kind of like going down a little bit at that time.
I don't know. I don't think I could like really ever get caught up in like the it's going down, because I would always like for me like if I was like on a sales trip or skating in front of somebody, no matter what I was going through, at once I got to the point if I felt like I was a real consummate professional, I wouldn't try to like let that affect anybody else's day. You know what I'm saying? If my day's fucked up, doesn't mean fuck your day up. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people get fucking power or get like any type of renown, they like try to act like like they're above you or anything like that. So when I would come into situations like I never felt like it was going down. I feel like people be like, oh, sales are down, da 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 da, but I never was really checking the books and stuff like that. Like, oh, our sales going down,
Mm-hmm.
like, nigga, you know.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that's really like a staple for who you are. Like you have like a spirit that
Mm,
doesn't worry about some things and just stays focused on your
yeah,
thing. As like long as I've known you, it's almost like I feel like you've been able, like you and Murda were able to connect on like some of these like deeper levels, like anime stuff, like mental focus, like higher spirit
yeah,
energy kind of things. But I feel like that's translated like into your skating, your music, and it shows like in your approach to like how you look at things.
right,
What
yeah.
started that? Was it just like literally Dragon Ball Z type stuff that one thing led to the other, or what?
Yeah, and I don't know. I was always into martial arts. I think like I've always been into like watching martial arts movies and stuff. And it, like like I think it was like Karate Kid, maybe even too, like just fucking Daniel's son. When he's like fucking meditating and stuff. I've always been into it.
Yeah.
Having an affinity. It's in our also in our culture. Like my mother was Puerto Rican. But that's her. She was. We refer to ourselves as Afro Latino, so she had a lot of influence from Africa through my grandmother. And then, my father's side, same multiracial Native American. So it's like just within our culture to be somewhat warrior. I think like warriors and be like really spiritual and stuff like that. So when the skating stuff came into play, I think I was already kind of taking martial arts at a very young age. I was taking Taekwondo, and I started taking Kung Fu and I started studying Tai Chi, and then Tai Chi was kind of what also kind of started helping me evolve more and through meditation and stuff like that. So I always want to incorporate that in anything that I was doing, you know. So skating, you know, people like, you remember we were doing the mushroom blading stuff, like, you know, so that was kind of like what was happening. Like mushroom blading was going on. I had like Joe Dobb to skate with. I had a group of people around me too that were kind of pushing the envelope too. So it's been rad, dude.
Yeah, that's one thing I loved about your skating also too. And like we mentioned before, after this podcast, we're gonna do a Patreon video with Dre where we watch some of his old sections. And I was watching a few of them, and like you really did have that kind of mushroom style blading way earlier on than most people did, especially most like pros during like the Hammer era too. And
Yeah.
before you mentioned Brain for Gone too, how that changed you. I don't know if that affected it as well, but you were doing a lot of really different shit, like weird spinny cesslite thingies, steroids, like incorporating all this different shit that almost nobody else was doing at that time.
This line right here, you know, when Dustin did the line down the street, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like that's kind of the aesthetic where I was coming at from, you know. I mean, and also like to skate, like, you know, to stunt skate, it fucking hurts when you fall. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, you gotta like factor that in. And I think as the cameras have gotten better, the skating has been able to get more technical, which obviously you can still do like big stunts and stuff, but like it looks just as rad to do something quick footed and, you know, or real slick or real creative like Yugen. I love Yugen skating. So yeah, like it's been interesting, you know, but now it's like kind of, I don't know if it's looked down upon to do stunt tricks, but you know, either way, it's like, you can't skate forever like that. You know, you can skate forever by being technical and mushroom blading, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. But I think like a lot of people don't know that you were kind of like Austin points out, you were like one of the early introducers of that stuff, and it was like highlighted in your section, which I thought was done really well in VG19 by Dave Payne, where he kind of split. Like at the time, a lot of skaters were kind of one dimensional. It was a time when skaters were beginning to break out of a one dimensional approach, where maybe it was like a lot of rail skating at the time, or maybe it was like a lot of switch ups or whatever, but the same dress. But you had like a 3-part thing in your VG19 section. And the first part was called the Nintroduction, which is like, you know, very like the style of sliding around, smooth things, cool looking stuff, not doing huge hammers. And then it went, I forgot the second part. And then the third part was the Onslaught, which is just the hammers. But just to have that breakdown open like that, and it also had you rapping in that. And I think like that was, I don't know, it was such a well done section, getting to know somebody. A lot of the time when you're trying to watch a section, and it's someone you like, you want to get like to have an idea of who they are. You want to like get a feel. And I feel like you and Dave really did a good job of like getting to know you through that part.
I think James made that. Didn't James Reesky make that edit?
Oh, yeah. I think James might have made that. Right.
It was like a guest edit.
But it was in VG. It was in
VG. No, but
that was crazy. That's how much love too, like Dave Payne has to for everybody. Like Dave Payne said, was such a special person. He still is a special person. And so yeah, he gave James opportunity to like submit that section. And yeah, maybe Dave did do something to it, but from what I remember, yeah, James did all of the editing or whatever. But yeah, I mean, James showed up at my house, dude. Like Billy, you remember like the back door? The
back gate of your house.
Yeah, the back gate, dude. Like
the back gate, yeah.
Came in through the back gate off of Graham Street. We're off of Sugar Creek. We were out of Sugar Creek, but like, yeah, there's like that back street, and so James comes up and it's like, "Hey, are you Dre Powell?" Knocked on my door, and I was like, "Who the fuck is this kid?" And he was like, "Oh, look, I'm gonna go film and skate with you." So it was just like a dream opportunity. And James, like, you know, his family was well to do, so it was like different, you know. He just shows up at your house and it's got riding in the Yukon. It's like, let's go skate. And like, so we pretty much could do whatever we wanted at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I love that. I love what you guys were able to do together, and it was to the point where actually it was so early on to what is called mushroom blading. At the time, it wasn't called mushroom blading. Actually, when people would do spinning cess slides, I would hear people sometimes sometimes in a kind way, and sometimes in a critical way. They'd be like, "Oh, that's ATL sliding," or they'd call it AT, because it was so tied into like you and Walt, like in VG19, like, you know,
I never heard that.
specifically like doing set slides down the street on the floor on like a sidewalk. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like that was the first time that was filmed and put in a video just for that. But
because
I
Walt,
think
man, Walt was insane. Like people don't understand like
insane.
how good he was. Like in the first competition, I think I entered at Skates and Bruises as a kid. I was probably like 12 years old. Walt was like 14, and he had won the advanced division. So that was like Walt was on my radar at such a very young age. You know what I mean? I was like, this kid is incredible. And then as we got older, became friends, and I met him at Woodward. He was still getting better and better. And then so by the time I got cool enough to go skate with them, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you got to kind of like get cool to skate with Walt and them at that point in time.
You and Walt were such a cool combo because you guys complemented each other. I feel like in New York City there were a lot of good skaters, but at that time specifically, and of course now,
and Murda, like you know,
but there was a lot of styles that were very kind of in the New York bubble, and I feel like you and Walt had like very different approaches to skating, which is what made it you guys complement each other so well.
Walt, man, yeah, it definitely was crazy. And you know, like so because it was Walt, Gary Caraway, Kurt Newman, Kevin Dowling, right? And obviously there was a bunch more. The Racer Twins, like Atlanta had such a solid crew of skaters. You know what I mean? Doug Urquhart, you feel me? So I just was, and I would live close enough to go to them like a lot. So, and my sister lived there, so it was only like 3 hours away, you know? So I got like, you know, had the opportunity to skate with Walt a lot, and Walt took a liking to me. So it was like, we fucking just would go skate, dude. And I just like, that fool would just rip shit up, dude. I think one time we drove to Nashville, me, Walt, it was like Kurt, I think, maybe Halloran, maybe Dowling was with us. But yeah, dude, and so Walt kind of just started showing me how to just do that shit. And Walt's a dog, dude. Like people don't get it. Like he has like a toughness to him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're like really like just ready to go, dude. It's like just turns you into a beast when you get to go skate with another person like that skates like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. He was like a little angry dude, so motivated, and he just like, but he turned that anger into energy, and so you'd shout out. ATL has always been like the hub. You know, shout out Kevin Dowling, shout out Team Hate, but even from like, you know, Frankie Lasavio, Andy Cruz, Tom Heiser, Jason. I can't think of his name right now, but that whole crew, and then on to you guys, and then even like I know Chris Zink was in the Carolinas, but like that whole crew down there. And just it's always been such like a powerful scene with like great filmers and photographers and J-Ro obviously and all these people.
Yeah, but I had Kevin Womack, I had like Joe Dobson, I got like a really good crew of people, Corinne Hightower, Daron Chase, Chris Zink. I mean, we had a solid crew, dude. We had Tyrone Allen Kirk, shout out Tack. And I'm in my whole crew, you know, I had a lot of friends to back me up, you know, in skating. So it was just like always just lit, dude. Jeremiah Reed, the Reeds. So we were always really clicked up. Dustin Eaton, Titty Boy, a lot of people do that were rolling. Titty Boy's dad was a beautiful Bobby Eaton from the WCW wrestling.
Sick.
I had just random people like that full rollerbladed, dude.
Yeah, ATL crew had such a. I just remember going down there when I was like, just like, actually spending some time down there when I was 18, and just such a cool, wide crew with so many different skaters and so much talent.
Then Doug and them, like, it was weird too, because like Doug Urquhart, like Doug was all the way out in Alpharetta, and then Kevin's all the way in Snellville, and like who the fuck lives in Snellville? You know what I mean?
It just sounds far. I don't even know where it is, but it sounds.
Kevin's parents, they had lived on the houseboat, so they would just like leave Kevin at the house. So he was 16. Yeah, he was 16 and he had his own house, like in the middle of like this, like, you know, suburb of Atlanta. It was
Gwinnett.
Super. Yeah. And everybody loved that, and everybody loved him. You know, he was like fucking celebrity, like to his high school. So we would go down there, and it would be so much fun. Mike McMullen was around, like, fuck, dude, this shit was so much fun skating with everybody. Trying to think of who else that was down there, dude. Oh, David Sizemore. I remember like when we skated with David Sizemore for the first time.
Early David, yeah.
And Sizemore's just had been on to do such crazy shit. Like, he's such a great skater, and I remember, but he had that same energy when he was a little kid. You know, bless you.
Thank you. But like obviously Julian too, and but yeah, sorry Austin, but I just want to say, and I'm curious to see because I know sometimes Todd and Joey from Mushroom Blading will watch this podcast, and I wonder what you guys think in the podcast. everyone who's listening right now. But do you think Dre and Walt were some of the early developers of what is now mushroom blading? I think mushroom blading began in Atlanta. I think that's where its true foundation was. I don't think that's really too debated, honestly, but maybe it is. Maybe it isn't.
They say it too.
But,
Todd and Joey say that it came from Atlanta, pretty much. So.
I mean, I ate mushrooms too, so it wasn't like we're not just calling it mushroom. In order to
understand. you actually
did the real thing. That. But we're talking about like different generations and shit. And like when Montre first started popping up, I remember like people would call him like, you're like Prodigy. It was like Dre's Prodigy was Montre. What was it like when you first started skating with Montre, and like how you saw something in him maybe, or like helped him develop as a skater?
Yeah, Montre is incredible, dude. Like, you know, I when people say protege, I mean, I think this like, cause I didn't really teach him stuff that he didn't know. You know what I'm saying? He already knew how to do all that shit. You know what I mean? It's not like I just skated with him. But yeah, it is flattering when somebody says somebody's your protege, et cetera, et cetera. But Montre was a great kid. So, but Kenny, I think Kenny Owens, shout out, say word. Kenny had already, I think, skated with him before. And so Kenny was like, oh, yeah, that's my boy. I skated with that fool before. And I was like, oh, that's tight. I was like, that's fool. He's good. He was skating Majestic 12s at the Blue Rams on Sugar Creek on Plaza, like, which is like super hood ass area. And his dad was like, and Jeff was over in the corner. I was like, yo, you're going to let your son come skate with us. We're going to go pick him up and come skate. I was already sponsored. I'm all like marketing and shit already. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey, you need to go skate with him. You know what I'm saying? You need to like let him skate with us, dude. He's going to be fucking good, dude. Like really good. And Kenny was like, oh yeah, he can skateboard too. I was like, what? And I was like, all right, well, let's just start skating with Montre. So Kenny, I think, started picking him up. I didn't even have a car. You know, I was just not even driving. I just was like, everybody would come and pick me up. So we started helping him with this shit, but I thought that he already had it, you know, and he just took it to the next level every day. We would skate like, you know, often, like probably at least a couple times a week. And we would be like, I remember when he started getting to the point where like I was telling Shima about him, you know, he would skate. I would be like picking him up, be like, hey, make sure your workout's done. Working out with the workout vest and shit. You know what I mean? So we were definitely training, like, you know, but one day he came to the skate park and just like started, like, he did like hurricane topsoil, everything hurricane on the right side down that little drop off rail at the Blue Rams. And I was like, you're ready, dude. And sure enough, everything just fell into place for him. You know what I mean? And he put in the hard work to make sure that when the opportunity presented itself, he was ready, you know? So it was sick.
Definitely. I remember we went down with Sean and Colin. We took a trip down to Atlanta and we stopped at Charlotte on the way. And it was like maybe Montre had been skating 2 years or something like that. And you were like, dude, this like we stopped to see you. And you were like, dude, this guy, Montre, is something else. We just skated some curve ledge, like just like under some trees in a park on a corner somewhere. And he was just doing everything. Just all this stuff.
Great ledges.
Just sliding around like true topsoil, sliding into other things. It was like impossible stuff back then. And you just knew back then that he was really going to go somewhere. I think it was like the same with Julian. Like when we first saw Julian skating at like the X Games skate park in the Gwinnett Mall or whatever, or in that mall over there. And you just like saw him the first couple of years. You're like, something's different about this guy. He's going to go somewhere.
Everything comes to them easy. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Not like easy, but I'm saying like as far as tricks wise, like, it seems like the work that somebody else would have to put in to do these tricks, like their body just naturally can just boom, land it every single fucking time. You know what I mean? Super clean, got a good personality. Everybody's crazy about him. Like those are the type of people that like, you can tell from a jump. You know what I'm saying? As long as they don't get caught up,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Montre was just cool as fuck, man. Like, swear to God. And then he took to heart a lot of the stuff that I was talking about with like Brain Fear Gone shit and like, taking it to the next level. I remember there was a time where like, it was like hard for me and him to even skate like together because he was doing his own thing and I was already older than him, so I was like, had a girlfriend, a real serious girlfriend. I wasn't skating that much with him, but I was happy because him and Kenny kept skating and like Say Word 3, Say Word 4, which I don't even think Say Word 4 ever came out. I think Kenny has it, but I don't know if he released it like that. But yeah, so yeah, it was awesome, man.
No, I feel like what you're describing is something like I'm pretty familiar with when you're at like different hunger levels, like on your way up when like you're
Right.
pushing really hard, you're just like, let's skate every day, let's skate every day. And then like you also get to a point, there's another point when on your path to being a pro where you're with your peers and trying to do
Mm-hmm.
something. But there's also like some period after that where, like you said, something changes when like maybe you're getting paid for it and there's like an obligation and you're not on the
Yeah.
push for it anymore. And you're maybe, for lack of a better word, maybe like not as hungry
Yeah. Yeah.
to push forward, more just like of a maintain thing.
Mm-hmm.
But just like obviously that's going to happen naturally between you and Montre because the difference in age and the difference in points where you at in your skating. But it's good to see. I think genuinely, like you must have been stoked to see like someone else from Charlotte like carrying the torch, holding it down, like in a way that was so done so well.
Absolutely, man. I mean, like they also like Montre's always been really like industrious. So like he always had like jobs and stuff. So like when he got his first, he had his apartment before me. So he's always been good buddy, dude. And he was just on his shit, dude. I remember like he was working at Olive Garden. He would come home, have a big stack. You know what I mean? Like and we would be like chaos click too. So like me, him, and Icky, shout out Hung. So we had like a crew, like, and so we are like, I would see a lot of time. I would spend a lot of time with them, but Anche was always really good at saving his money and getting his shit jumping. Like so when they did Rad Street, like they moved, like he had like a whole street in Plaza Midwood. Him and like a bunch of skateboarders, a bunch of BMXers, and a bunch of musicians, and they lived in the fucking hood, dude. And so even at that time, dude, I would like go to Montre's house and like I would like I still have my mom's house, but I would go there to hang out and party and just crash on Montre's couch. You know what I mean? And I was
Yeah.
going downs and shit too. So Montre's held me down like for real, for real. So I love him. Him and Phil Gripper. Shout out Phil Gripper. Shout out Bart. So we had like a really. I love the way that they like made themselves a part of our scene too. It was rad, man. Montre, remember like Montre rapped with me on that one song?
Yeah.
Yeah, Montre like could spit too. So
Dude, Monte's got all around talent. He's super talented guy, like all of you guys.
Superhuman.
And you'd shout out Phil as well.
mm,
Um, and I know we've been bouncing around a bit, but since you brought up music,
mm,
and we bounced around from like all the skating from Atlanta, everything to we touched on like the Razor Mansion. But to go back to the Razor Mansion real quick and to go on about your point about rapping, and I feel like
mm,
after the Razor House, where you say things were kind of slowing down with skating, and you feel like it was like on a bit of the decline from where
yeah,
your peak was as a pro at that point. I feel
right.
like at that point, that's when you started pursuing music more strongly. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it was just like the music stuff was always there, but I think kind of going back to technology, like the fact that like we had been, I was there right when when the YouTube kind of thing started taking off. So it was like I was told Andy like, hey, they got YouTube now. Like, you should send me on these trips. I should always have a camera with me, and be able to like interview people. So like those first like Razors news, those were like a lot of those ones were kind of my idea as like an executive producer. I wrote those episodes right as a
Nice.
writer. I wrote the episodes. Andy sent me. Is another executive producer, right? So I was like the director and kind of like an art director for that. So Andy sent me to these places, and so we were already ahead of the curve as far as like knowing how to use editing software and like knowing how to do audio. And then I was making beats a lot too. So like, um, so it was just kind of a natural progression. You know what I mean? And then Andy wasn't willing to kind of like do what I felt like he needed to do to propel Razors into that bigger category of like
Yeah.
revenue. But he wanted to do what he wanted to do, and I can't tell somebody what to do with their money. You know what I mean? So I can just make recommendations like, hey, this is where fashion and stuff is going. Because think about it, like I was around you guys too when you were over at the loft. So
Yeah.
I seeing what's been going on with the styles and everything too. So um, I just felt like I wasn't going to probably make any more money, da 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 da, doing that. Just getting, but Andy wasn't really tripping on me rapping and all that shit too. That was just kind of like a bonus. So, but like I just, was rapping a lot. But we just had cameras. I think that was really the reason why, because I always was rapping and stuff like that. But once we had the cameras and we were able to kind of like shoot a skate section, we were like, oh, let's try to do some music video stuff, and then we did that, and then it just kind of one thing led to another.
Yeah, I think there are times like when you put so much, and I know I've experienced it when you put so much of your time into trying to make one thing specific, very niche thing happen. In this case, rollerblading, but I think it applies to like several different fields. That maybe at the end of that journey, you could be a bit disoriented and like you don't know like where to go, what's next. You want to like pursue other things. I know for sure. Like I was in a band playing like for a few years and pushing and going in that direction by myself to try to explore. Because when you spend so much time on one thing trying to make it happen and you succeed in that, I feel like you want to address the other things that you didn't put as much time into. And so what was that? Was it like a tough transition, or was it like a fun? Was it an adventurous transition when like things started slowing down with skating, or was it like hectic? Like how was everything after that?
When skating for me, it's like when the money started running out, like I was kind of like, always prepared kind of for that because it was never really that much money to begin with. I think the thing that I missed most was the travel, being able to go to like places and stuff like that. But yeah, I just had to kind of like figure out what I wanted to do. Luckily for me, I've always been able to kind of like look around the room and see who's doing what, So I was like, oh, I'm gonna do film, I'm gonna do real estate. So I started doing film and doing real estate and just did anything until I got to where I needed to be in order to sustain myself, Still skated a little bit. And Andy took care of me for a while. So I was able to, save money and do what I needed to do, handle a lot of shit. There's a lot of opportunities I missed, but, I was able to kind of learn from those mistakes as far as like, spending so much time, like you said, doing one thing and not financially like diversifying your portfolio, as they say, because you don't want to just like, you do one thing and not be investing in real estate and not be developing other skilled trades that you can make money off of. You know what I mean? Because it's like, if you're one thing, then what the fuck else? There's like a lot of people that come to LA. Even I came to LA with the mindset of like, oh, I'm going to figure it out. When I get there with the intent of like being in entertainment. And so, but I was able to like have family here. I stayed at my dad's house for a while I was getting on my feet. So for me, I had a little bit of an advantage than a lot of people because when you come here, the odds are stacked against you,
Definitely.
For sure, dude. So yeah, I mean, I just just being around other successful people and kind of watching them and just learning from a lot of mistakes, dude. Like honestly, like spent and wasted a lot of money, wasted a lot of time. But I knew one thing, like real estate and film was like something that I was always passionate about too. So I was like, I have to be doing that. Well, I can't skate all the time, and I get bored if I do one thing anyways for too long, I have to do like, multiple things, hit it at one time,
And you find yourself still to be that way. Like you need to like you need several things to keep doing. I personally feel as I get a little older that like I'm like less that way. But that's cool that you still have that going.
You minimize your lifestyle.
I know the Pomodoro technique. Have you ever heard of that before?
Pomodoro, make a sauce? No, what's the technique?
Yes, in essence, yes. So you take what you work like. Remember how you said? I don't know if you've ever heard me say this, but you work like 10 hours a day, right? 12 hours a day, and every hour you spend 45 minutes doing that one task. But and then you take 15-minute breaks, and then you go on to the next task. You do that. You do that for the whole day, through your whole work day. But you can write a list, and you can start just checking off things from the list. Like the more that you keep doing that, you look up at your list and everything on your list is done, just because you've actually been like systematically going
taking
down.
The steps.
Yeah, taking the steps, like my mom would say, don't eat an elephant in one bite.
That's it.
Yeah.
I like that. I honestly that approach functions for me really well as well. I'm sorry, Austin. Go ahead.
No, it was sick that you actually skated to your own music so many times in so many sections. Like I guess people have done it here and there. I know Frankie's done it too. Maybe Julian, if I'm not mistaken, but like you like took it like I feel like you took it to another level with your sections. Did you, when you skate and you're filming for a video, do you like make a song around the section that you're gonna skate for? Like does that work coincide with each other? How does one feed off the other? Like how does that work?
No, not necessarily. I think like it just depends on what I was doing at that moment. At that moment in time, yeah, for sure. I was like, oh, I'm gonna fucking use my own music and with the skate section. But like now, it's more of like I just like listening to dope music. So like a lot of times you'll hear like weird rock shit, experimental shit. If I do an edit, you'll hear like a lot of rap shit. You know what I mean? Like extreme aggressive rap or just some smooth stuff. I want it to be kind of like thought provoking. I'm always like curating music in my own mind, or like if I'm driving down the street and I'm listening to like SoundCloud or something, I'm always like, trying to find some new song or something to sample. I love sampling like stuff like you know, like I'm listening to Mac DeMarco or something like that. You know what I mean? I'll sample something like that. Remember when you were living downtown too, Fish? Like Ariel Pink and all those guys are running around like weird shit.
Yeah.
You know? So you know, Sean Cullen. Shout out Sean Cullen. I don't know where the fuck he's at, dude. That was crazy. Yeah. So yeah.
I actually spoke to him not too long ago. He's in Portland, and he's like, "Oh, dude, come up to Mortland." So that's that's very, you know how he would be. But yeah, I was gonna say that too about your music. I remember like in downtown, you were kind of getting out there with the music a bit, and like originally you had like a very what I think what used to be called traditional rap. Now kids call it like boom bap style, like from when I knew you when we were young, like which is like kind of reflected in your VG19 section
Yeah.
and things like that. But how has that journey been on the kind of changing your approach to music while having like these kind of older school roots?
Yeah, well, so like I had just like been around a lot of musicians and stuff, and like even just hanging out with you guys, you know, like Mortland, and everybody that was running through that building. I mean, yeah, that's his new name. And you know, like even you going back to the growlers and stuff, like when you were over there, it's like that whole situation of like growing up around those type of people, right? Remember, because Melania was dating, wasn't she? She was that's Sergio's baby cousin, right? So yeah, we had a
Melissa.
lot yeah, Melissa.
Melissa. Yeah.
I knew them from a kid, you know. So it was just like all
Hmm.
of the weird synchronicities that we were running into, like you know, for sure. And then I met Little Peep too. So I think when I met Peep, was doing real estate, and then I met him and Tracy through a mutual friend, and they signed a lease. So that also had a big, huge effect on like what I was doing with my music too, especially because Peep had a big influence on me. He was such a great person, and R.I.P. Little Peep. So you know, like just a lot of shit was going on, you know, like at that time. So I always will incorporate all styles, and even in like with my music, I always wanted to kind of be more of like a Led Zeppelin. You know, I always wanted every song to kind of change to be a
Mm.
different type of song. You know what I mean? So, and then now, like I know, like a lot of people like go through a lot of real shit. They'll use music to tell those type of stories and stuff. And so, you know, there's nothing wrong with like, all types of different styles as long as it's like art. You know, you're not like being super like racist or something like that. You know what I mean? Which you can't really tell art what to do, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
it's funny you mentioned Led Zeppelin. I feel like when a lot of people are talking about like rap stuff, they're not like mentioning these things. But my theory would be that you get a lot of these your eclectic style of music because basic skate videos. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's true.
Yeah,
Like Dave
yeah,
Payne, I think that too. Like VG6, like really like had a lot of like atmosphere was in there. That's the first time I ever
yeah.
heard. You know, so that
Same.
that has huge impact. Yeah, on me. Like you know, listen, like Dave Payne, man. Shout out Dave Payne, DJ Payne. He like had so much good music in those skate videos and all of the skate videos. Brandon Negretti, R.I.P. Negretti. I remember that was the first time I ever heard Placebo from that one Happy section, that Gravity song. I love that song. You know, I still listen to Placebo today, like and riding around the car sometimes. And like so skate videos, man, are just crazy, dude, like how they affect you like that, you know?
Totally,
Um,
like how those songs, like especially like for me, it was the same first time hearing like Atmosphere was like VG10,
Yeah, me too.
and I was just
Hanging out
like,
with you guys,
what?
you guys are bumping the sword and shit, like Pentagram. Like it's the first time I ever
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
Pentagram with you. You know
no,
what I mean?
exactly like this. So it's like this whole, but like yeah, like the people don't really understand like how important it was to have like Dave Payne be the guy that made the VGs because
Right.
like blading could have been like way less cool,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
fact that he was the one like who had like this his finger on the pulse of a bunch of different like underground and lesser known artists at the time was just really important for like I think the developmental nature of like the individuals who were participating in skating who were like involved because it gave them like a richer palette of music
Right.
on their tray. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, dude. I remember like hanging out with Payne, dude. Like when I got to that point, because like yeah, right around that time, I think when everything started happening with second regime, like I got lucky enough to like be on the West Coast because, like I said, I was going to my dad's house every summer. Once my dad got out of prison, you know what I mean? Like, and I was able to, and he was able to, I was able to like be around his ass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Started going and hanging out with him. You know what I mean? So, but Louis, because my grandma had already moved back to the East Coast with my mom from LA, because that was another thing. Like Grandma Anna, when my mom left New York, Grandma Anna moved over here, and Grandma Anna stayed out here. So that was who I would originally come and visit in the summertime. Like I'm talking about young, like 4, 5, 6, way before skating. So then when I got older and my dad started coming around, I was able to stay out here. And then so like Louie and Randy and them would always bring me back up in here, up and down. So if I flew out, I think I flew out 2 or 3 times. And Dave Payne, I got to hang out with Payne, dude. And Payne was like listening to fucking music, DJing, and he had this dope ass bong, and he was just like smoking out the bong, dude. And like I was young, you know what I mean? So it was fire. Like we were just making dope ass music, just the vibes, you know what I mean? Like
sick.
Yeah, it was sick, bro. I remember first time I met Dominic was like through like another friend named Ben that moved to Orange County, like literally right down the street from Dominic's, from El Medino High School. The school that had the red ledges that Dominic used to skate. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did like that line with everyone doing like one trick in it, like
right.
Point, yeah.
I love like the whole YouTube, like this little shorts, like the short culture. You know what I'm talking about? Like how everybody's just like this one clips as much as you love to hit it, right? But yeah, like there was a clip 2 days ago or yesterday. Dominic does like half cab Machio backslide. Yes. That spot. We went to skate there, and Dominic was just there when I was like 14.
Wow.
I didn't know him, dude, and he was just doing like fucking like true topsouls, like God. You know what I mean? I'm like, who the fuck is this kid?
Yeah.
It's so random, dude. You know what I mean?
That is so, especially when you were 14. Like true topsouls are a very new thing when he was getting documented doing them.
Oh, and I'm telling you, he was doing them like full speed, like at a level like that, wearing the old USDs with the juice plate, the 50-50 juice plate. Like, it was ridiculous. So
with some like UFO pants, maybe.
Yeah, the big baggy Sean Kelso pants.
Yeah.
You know, with the and so like it was crazy, dude. And then like I remember when I got that phone call, like I got the phone call from Josh Petty, right, when I was 16, and so my mom's like, "Yeah, this guy Josh just called," and I was like, "Josh who?" And it's like I think I got home from school in the afternoon. I'm like, "Josh who?" And she's like, "Josh Petty," and I was like, "Josh Petty just called me." She's like, "Yeah, Josh just called you." I was like, "What? Give me the phone, dude." I called him back. This is like called my house phone, dude. And I called him back. And he was like, "Yo, we want to put you on," and that was right after Future Rollerblading 2, because Navrin had went home, and then he had just, was like, "Oh, I skated with Walt and Dre," I think, and then Walt got on. I want to say Walt got on Senate or Walt got on something, and I got on a second machine. There was like both of us got drafted in essence, you know what I mean, to whatever teams we're gonna go to at that point in time. So, yeah, it's been a crazy story, bro, crazy journey. You know what I mean?
That is wild. And I think, it's wild, especially at that time, to have Josh Petty call you. I think a lot of people, just because I don't think the YouTube format really is able to portray like the impact that his skating had at that time, or I don't think a lot of his work is on YouTube, but he was like he was a huge deal. Like around the VG7 time, he was like probably the guy. He skated to Daytona 5000, was it?
Yeah.
Just yeah. But so to get a call, I couldn't imagine getting a call like that from Josh. But I remember getting a call from I think it was Tom Heiser when I was first trying to get on, when I was first like getting called for rollerblade, and I was like, whoa. And all due respect to Tom, but he wasn't like the hot shit back then, but he was still like super known. But like Josh Petty was like the hot shit kind of skater, along with like Zamora and like these
Josh
guys.
Petty was like our first Rodney Mullen, right? Like he was the he was like the first rollerblader to kind of be really, really hip hop. That was like really fucking skate fast. He was good looking. Like
I'd say that he was like a Chad Muska-ish. I would say he's closer to Chad Muska. And I see DL as more of a Rodney Mullen, but
that's what I'm gonna say. Chad Muska, the hip hop one, right?
Yeah.
Chad Muska, that's the one I'm talking about. They had the puffy ass shoes and shit.
Yeah.
Muska, yeah.
That's funny. That's funny to make that reference too, because Josh also had a section in What Do You Believe, and that was also like a 3-part section, kind of like how Dre you did in VG19 was a 3-part section, like different themes for each one.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely like all James on that, and James drew that picture of me where my eyes are closed and then my eyes open. It's like,
yeah,
James was ahead of the game, dude. And like shout out to his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Reedsky. They were so sweet to us, and like they had a nice ass house, so we could go over there and like the fridge is filled to the brim. The house is humongous.
Yeah,
like fucking James is editing in like his own suite of the house, like so it was different. You know what I mean? So it was like, James really could put in his all into that type of shit at that moment in time. So it was very fascinating how that all like just happened like that. But yeah, man, I mean, art is gonna, always shine through, I think, at the end of the day. And like, I'm so glad that everybody's like, recognized our skating, what we brought to the scene in North Carolina and, in Atlanta and stuff like that. She was super dope. I used to hate it though when people be like, "Oh, you from Atlanta?" I'd be like, "No, I'm from North Carolina."
Yeah, I thought you were from Atlanta too. I definitely like you were very closely associated with Atlanta. I think the first distinction came when there was the Battle My Cruise. The Carolinas had its own thing. It was like, okay, that's different than I think everyone was put into the Atlanta bracket. Will Gordon, Tim Taylor.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, that's just Atlanta. Yeah.
Charles Dunkel. Oh my God. Robbie Thompson.
Yeah.
Like I was in a cabin with Rob Thompson when I was 12 years old. It was just a kind of a weird start to the story, but
yeah. Wait, did you went to Woodward as a camper?
Yes, dude.
Oh, I didn't know you went as a camper.
Yeah. I was like 11 and I went 2 years, dude. So I went 11 and 12, right?
Oh, tell us about that. It's got to be interesting.
And so Rob Thompson, dude, was so crazy and so aggressive. This kid was like headbutting holes in the wall, bro, in our cabin.
Well,
and we covered it up with old Daily Bread, like fucking pictures, dude. So that's how little kids. We tried to patch the holes with pictures, bro. We got in so much trouble, dude. Everybody had to do trash duty. It was fucking awesome, dude.
Who did you go to Woodward with? And like, who was like some of the visiting pros at the time that you were like, oh shit, this person's at Woodward? Because that's what it was about back in the day in the 90s.
Dude, I met everybody, dude. Like everybody, like those years, dude. Anybody that was like, I think they got on, Dunkel. I think I met him like 12. I was like 12. They were like all 14, maybe, because Dunkel I think is 2 years older than me, right? So I think I'm 40 now. I turned 40 like last December, so getting up there. So Dunkel was like 2 years older than me, I think. So Dunkel was there with Robbie, with probably the whole crew, dude, the whole Montgomery Monsters. Shout out Montgomery Monsters, Mark Sin, everybody. But I remember like them having the potential to be like super super good. So it was just super crazy, like how like Dunkel was way better than everybody, like fakey 720s, forward 720s. Chris Fleener, you remember Chris Fleener?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, dude. Him and Frank Stoner, dude. Oh my God, bro. As a little kid, I remember seeing them skate. Like, this shit was retarded. I remember Broskow, by the time I turned 14 or 15, I think maybe 16, we went for Skate Park Challenge. Do you remember that?
No.
I don't know what that is.
Skate Park Challenge was like the year right before we were all about to turn, like, where me, Frankie, Broskow, that whole era was getting ready to turn pro. It was like right when Jeff Fredericks. Remember when Jeff Fredericks was blowing up that year? I think it was like 2000, maybe.
Yeah.
Like that whole dude. Everybody went to New York. I mean, everybody from New York and from up north came to Woodward for the Skate Park Challenge and battled it out. But I just remember like Broskow and Frankie battling, dude. Like Broskow was skating K2s. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
He was skating K2s, dude.
That was the first thing I saw him. Was like a mini profile in VG 16. Yeah, like the first, and he was skating in K2s.
He's fucking ridiculous. He was so good, dude.
Wait, so what was the Skate Park Challenge then? What you guys like battled it out for? What it was like? You guys were trying to be pro, or?
Yeah, I think it was. There was some like, it must have been like some sort of ASA qualifier, because everybody was trying to turn pro to get to ASA,
Right.
Yeah, and Broskow, but I remember like Frankie was already like. I had already skated with Frankie in regionals before, so I'd already seen how good Frankie was. I was like, oh, bro, this fool is out of control, I wasn't that good to me, personally. I just I couldn't skate park like those fools could, you know what I mean? Like, they skate park so fucking good. But I remember Broskow and that fool battled it out in Lot 8, or what was the big one? Lot 8, right?
The indoor one was Lot 8.
Yeah. The big one up on the hill, right? It's Lot 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still Lot 8, dude. I remember they went at it, dude, and I was just so blown away by like how good Broskow was and how good Frankie was. Like, but yeah, it was a cool time, man, for sure. And we got to stay there for free. First time I was like, I think I got paid to go to Woodward that time. It was badass, dude. I was like, yes.
The time.
It was full circle. You pay to go there, now you get paid to go there. It came around.
Seriously, dude. Like, my mom spent her hard money to send my dumb ass to Woodward for the summer.
yeah.
You know, at least a
Oh,
week,
yeah.
like the week for a little bit. Did you guys get to go? You didn't got to get to go as kids, right?
Mm-mm.
Not as a camper, no.
So you know
my
that
my
shit was like,
Our parents weren't
my
hustlers.
mom really didn't support my blading till like way later. Like, but I was also a bad kid, and I don't know if she knew that like if blading like made it worse or better at the time. So I don't think she knew to support it or not. Also, she was like a single mom for a while, so it was like, yeah, as you know, it's like, but
yeah, I
I, like,
remember you.
yeah, I could. I knew not to ask because even asking for a pair of blades was like no. So it's just like, well, I can't.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Did anybody from New York go to Woodward? I feel like I don't know anybody who was a camper.
Of course. Like John Ortiz was. Well, John Ortiz was
as a camper
when
though.
he was there.
Yeah, as a camper, I'm saying. Like,
I'm sure, dude. I'm sure.
I don't know anybody who. Everyone was like, "Damn, that shit's way too expensive."
I mean, it was definitely cheaper back then.
Imagine, my
cheap.
mom sent me, dude. You know what I mean? Like crazy, dude.
It's shit that you appreciate now that you didn't really think about back then.
Oh yeah.
It was like $1,000. It was like $1,000 is in the 90s or some shit.
Yeah, I remember being like
Yeah.
$850 or something like that the first year I looked. But I remember I looked like a few years ago for like I guess scooter and skateboarding. It's like almost $4,000 I think a week. It's like 35 or 3,600 or something like that. It's insane.
That makes sense to adjust for inflation, but that is wild.
But for 1 week, that's insane. I mean, it's probably the equivalent back then. So I understand now why our parents weren't like, "No, you ain't going to Woodward. I ain't spending that money." Like,
I'll be honest, 4K is a lot, but they do a lot for the kids there. I mean, they can also go to hell because they don't really do blading, so I don't really care. But I think like 2,500, even though it's really tough still, like is like 2K would be nice, but I think 25 is reasonable. 4K is wild.
They should let us set the price.
Yeah, but okay, there's a couple of things. Okay, so we've been going through a lot so far. There's a couple more things I want to go through. I know there's a couple more things you want to go through, Austin, but I think about 15, 20 minutes, maybe we should get into some of these guest questions, and then we should get into the this section commentary and go over some of your old sections. For those who aren't, sorry, go ahead.
Better. I said I like this view too, because like this one before, like if I talk, it'll like only show my face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is better. This is better because I can see you when you're talking.
Well, right.
Okay, nice.
No, because like you know, it is when you're talking and you can't see anybody else, but you're talking, so you forget your points.
Yeah.
I'm like forgetting what the fuck I'm saying and shit.
It's like talking into the mirror.
Communication is very visual. I know what you mean. I'm with you.
Yeah.
But there's a couple things I want to talk about more before we get to the questions. I'm sure I would assume, Austin, there are some Patreon questions, and then if we can. We will try to do our best to get to whatever live questions we may have. We have 161 people in the chat, which is pretty well. And obviously, if you want to do a Patreon, super chat question, you are welcome to. We always split our super chats with our guest. And it would obviously expedite your question. So before I get in, and if you're watching still, give it a like. But a couple more things I wanted to ask about. So we talked about Aragon and Dre and Mike briefly, but I just want to come back to it for a second. I feel like you guys kind of had like a dream team-ish thing happening at the time, and there were so many good elements. You know, you had Murda with the fast feet, Aragon with the spins to grind, and you were just like this classic, like undeniable, like untraceable style that is like so very much your own, that you brought like your own. Like, you know, I think about like the big green kink rail and ego and like Aragon doing his tricks and Mike doing his and you coming in doing like you're just like stamping it with like your Dre thing. So what was that like being with those guys on tour, and what was that dynamic? Do you guys feed off each other a lot? How did that go?
That was fucking incredible. I mean, like that was probably just a really, really fun time. Aragon is just such a classy person, and Murda is just so crazy. You know what I mean? Like he's very disciplined too in his own right. Like Murda's like he can just turn and like switch on and off really quickly. You know what I mean? So like you could go skate and then just be super chill too. So it was just great being around other people that were really about that shit. Aragon took it probably the most serious as far as like he was working out a lot and stuff like that. And I always remember like kind of regretting not taking it more serious, honestly, with like against Brian, because I relied a lot more off of my natural talent. You know what I mean? I didn't like hit the gym and shit like that. I was just like, I would do little push-ups, but like Aragon was on a workout plan. You know what I'm saying? Like he's so serious. Wasn't drinking like nothing before party, like no partying. before any competitions. And I'm like, fucking, I can't sleep. I'm like, I gotta go out and get a drink. You know what I mean? Like, fuck out here. No, but that shit was awesome, man. I mean, Murda killed it. But yeah, Aragon, I mean, you can feel like another one of those kids where it all comes natural to him and very easily. You know what I mean? So, well, maybe it appears to be like that it comes easy to him. You know, he did put in a lot of work to be ready. Like, you know, his body is super fit because you take damage when you're doing those big tricks like that. You know, and I don't like. And you're being traveling. You know, you're in a cold environment. You're in Europe. And, you know, so you're far away from home, dude. You know, like you get hurt, you break something, you have to go to the hospital, and like shit's a mess. So it's like skating at a high level, but not getting hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I could go there and do a hurricane topsail, but that might be the only trick that I'll get for the whole fucking tour. You know what I mean? If I fuck up, I fall, twist my ankle, land on some shit, I gotta go get stitches. You know what I mean? Like it's all this shit. Like, you know, it sucks. So yeah, it's a gift and a curse, you know, especially when you get good at it and you want to skate at your highest level every tour stop you go to, every video. But you're like, fuck, if I get hurt here, then I can't go to this competition. So it's like it gets kind of weird. But yeah, no, I had a blast, man. Aragon, so fucking good. Murda was so good. And Murda was designing, you know, like in the evening, like when Murda wasn't skating, he was doing 3D. So it's kind of, and then, you know, he gave me a computer one time. He was like, here, just make some beats on it. He gave me a MacBook. Every time I'd be around, he would be on his computer editing. He'd be like, here, take the Mac, go make some music. So, you know, it was always just super dope hanging out with them. Then we started going on tour with Horn. You remember when Stefan was with us?
Yeah.
So that was level. Remember that time
that's wild too.
We like, you got stuck in Europe or something and we gave you you rode with us, remember?
I do remember that. Yeah. Yeah, at the airport. I got stuck at the airport. Yeah.
It was the dopest trip. We were all crammed in the back of the fucking.
That was so sick. Yeah, I found you at the airport. And I was like, dude, can I get a ride with you guys to Winter Clash? That was a while ago.
Yeah, we drove. We were fucking in Europe. It was crazy. We drove. What airport were we at? I do not know.
Somewhere in Germany. Yeah, somewhere in Germany.
And we went all the way to Amsterdam, right? And then we were doing all the way back to. It was incredible, dude. It was like one of the best trips ever. So. Those trips were crazy. I mean, Horn's rolling like the best spliffs I've ever smoked. You know, we could drink beer everywhere. Like you're in Europe, like, oh man, dude, it's crazy. So yeah, like right now, me and my boy Tack, like we getting ready to launch like another brand extension of kind of like some of the art stuff that I was doing. It's like a little prototype shirt, but this is just prototype stuff. Like I didn't really like the silkscreen stuff, like, but it did kind of come out dope. But either way, like, so me and Tack have been working on that. So, you know, it's like right when I was like getting ready to kind of just like put out some film stuff that I've been working on, one of my friends that taught me that I could make money off skating. So that was a thing too. Like Tyrone Allen Kirk and Kevin Womack were like the two first people of color that I remember seeing that were rollerbladers, which helped me out too, you know, because back in the day, like if you skated or if you were at the skate park, people that were black would be like, oh, you're a white boy. You know what I mean? Try to take your black card. You know what I mean? Like I was already light skinned as a mug, so it's like I already got hell. You know, I wasn't white enough, wasn't black enough. You know what I mean? So it's like once you go to the skate park, then people are like, "Oh, you're a fucking white boy now." You know. So then you see like people that are of color skating. You're like, oh, "Okay, this is dope. I could be of color and actually be here." There's other people that are like, you know, with the shits as far as that goes. And so Tack hit me up, and he was like, "Yo, I want to start something new with you." And so I just had another dream opportunity kind of fall into my lap. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like. Just when you're like, oh, I'm not gonna do the skating thing anymore like that. Like try to, you know, come at it from like making any type of money off skating. Nothing. My boys like, let's do a run a wheel. Let's do something, you know, so you get turned pro again. Just when I think I'm out, they call me back in. You know what I mean?
That's it, man. Pacino, they can't get rid of you.
So we don't want you, Dre.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
let's. I mean, like we've got a couple of things, but let's go into that a bit. Let's talk about this project. Because I didn't even know you had a project going.
Yeah, so this project was kind of something that I was working on by myself. I was just like doing a lot of stuff because I had been in film school, so I had been writing, and I wrote like 6 or 7 different scripts. One of which was like a superhero kind of like story, and so I was working on that. I just finished that, so I'm in the process of selling that, or you know, developing it if we get the right type of funding, but. So I was focusing because I knew that rollerblading could only pay so much. So I was like, if I'm going to get money and help rollerblading, I need to go get money from outside of rollerblading and then dump it back into rollerblading, and obviously having good examples like people like you and like what's happening with Montre and his company and stuff like that. You know, now we're starting to see like these dope ass independent companies that are, you know, either subsidiaries or, you know, business owners that are actual skaters that are making product now. You know what I mean? So I think it's starting to get really, really dope. We've always had John, thank God, you know, as a good example and role model to people that want to be a part of rollerblading, you know? So, this project was like going to be a documentary, mockumentary. So I was going to be like telling the story of like how I pretty much started coming up with the aesthetic of Dre Powell as like a character, you know what I mean, in general. And then also transitioning into doing these two new characters that were going to be like, you know, characters that I curated. So I did an art show for it. It was like the first art show that I did during the pandemic. So I like wrote the whole thing and had a bunch of different other artists come in, interviewed them, started packaging the product. It was, you know, still with Yuli, but I wanted to just kind of make my first like book, you know, because I had already done music. Done a bunch of skate videos. I was like, okay, let's do a music skate video that has a book attached to it. So it's like a full 360, you know what I mean? So I have something like for a coffee table book, you know? So we started making a bunch of stuff. So when Tack called me and was like, oh, let's do this. Let's do a wheel company or something together. Let's do skate. Let's do something. Fuck. I got money saved up. Let's do something. I was like, all right. I got this shirts and like all this stuff that I've been working on. He's like, oh, okay, send me some stuff. And I was like, oh, those are interesting. So that was where it was kind of born. And then, you know, with the name Scroll, it was pretty much like Tack made a mixtape back in the day, and he sampled Ninja Scroll, the old anime movie. I don't know, you ever seen Ninja Scroll before? You haven't seen it? Wow. Go watch it tonight. It's pretty easy watch. It's fucking an anime movie, but it's like manga, the classic manga. And so it's kind of like more grimy. It's not like all like Naruto, kind of like cheesy like Dragon Ball. It's like more realistic, you know?
Yeah, I never went too deep into the anime. I went to like Yu Yu Hakusho.
Okay.
But I never went further than that, you know.
But there's different styles, right, of anime, right? So there's like chibi, right, which is like the little kids one where it's like has the big eyes and the big face. Then there's like the ones that are what is it, Shonen Jump, which is like for high school kids, you know, like with the whole high school kids thing. But then like Ninja Scroll is like hardcore, you know what I mean? So like you see blood,
hardcore shit. It's the highest level.
Blood, people are getting cut. You know?
All right, I'm gonna go check that out tonight. What's it called?
It's called Ninja Scroll.
Ninja Scroll. Okay.
Yeah, so we took that name because Tech made the mixtape, and I was like, it had an effect on me. So when he went to the Air Force, you know, he went to the Air Force for 9 years, you know, and I was like, I'm never gonna see my friend again. Like Tech's gone, you know, like there's no. As soon as you meet like one of your new best friends, and then they just leave. They gave me like the whole because I liked rollerblading, but I didn't know I could make money off rollerblading, and I didn't know there was an industry. And Tack was sponsored by Scribe, so he was older than us. He came from Minneapolis, so he just gave me the opportunity to do the joint. And like I was just like, you know, let's do this and do this aesthetic. So we're gonna have a couple of other riders. It'll be a classic kind of situation, you know. Like, you know, I wasn't trying to recreate the wheel, but obviously, like, there's so much that we can do to help rollerblading right now. You know, like just whether it's organizing competitions, giving kids a way to get out of the hood. You know what I mean? Like that's really on my mind too. Like there's a skate park in Watts. You know this, right?
Yeah.
So the skate park in Watts,
I'm pretty sure that the homie does clinics there. South Central Blade Club.
South Central Blade Club, right?
Sean.
Yeah. I've been talking with him on the internet, so I want to do some more community outreach stuff like that too. You know.
Yeah, he's a good guy to do it with.
Yeah, so this whole like scroll project was just kind of like another way that we can just, you know, use what we've gained, all the knowledge we gained from skating, and then put it back into the, you know, something that's tangible, something that we can make. And also I need like product, like I need wheels and stuff like that too. So my boy gave me an opportunity. My dad used to be like, oh, Dre, you know, you can't skate through life, boy. My dad talk shit like, you know, oh, you can't skate through life. And I'm like, and now he's, you know, he passed away, and I'm like, yeah, now look at me pop. You know what I'm saying? Still skating, you know, I'm fucking 40 years old, still skating, bro. That's cool, man. I remember I seen like all the OGs coming back into the sport too, which is like made me so happy too, you know, to see everybody like starting to skate a lot more. Like, you know, shout out the French brothers, they've been putting in work. Shout out LARJ, you know, with the one trick a day, and like, you know, everybody's that's been coming out to all of those events. Shout out Nickel and Dime Skate Shop.
So important. All that stuff is so important.
Yeah, we got Intuition Skate Shop is down the freaking street from my house. It's like right on 30th Street over here in Santa Monica. It's in 33rd Street. And so there's a lot of like people that are pushing the envelope, you know, and I think just the more events. We got the LA Blade Honeys. You know what I'm talking about? The LA Skate Honeys?
I haven't seen that one yet. No. I mean, I know there's a lot of like there's a huge scene of girls out here skating, but I didn't see the title.
Right, so I think it's LA Skate Honeys. They're gonna kill me for getting this wrong, but yeah, it's the homegirls. You know what I mean? But either way, like they've been throwing some dope parties and stuff, and like everybody just
Damn.
goes and skates. So you have like a lot of people that just don't have any conception of what skating is. They just want to go out and skate, and like, oh fuck, you can jump downstairs. That's fucking dope. Like, oh, you're Dre Powell. Oh, that's even doper. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a huge market of fucking skaters. I think right now in LA, and like in just the world that are just kind of passive skaters, you know what I mean? To capitalize off just even that, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people come in, oh, boy, I want to buy some wheels, da 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 da. So, and now, you know, with you guys having the shop, I mean, you guys having Mesmer, like even just helping other brands get seen by other, you know, by other eyes. Like I've been talking about getting a skate shop forever too, you know what I mean? So eventually, I think having, you know, our little company is like a stepping stone to all of those things. Like you guys could have a Jump Street shop and it would bang, you know,
Yeah,
like
we
easy.
have one. We got
We'll go
one.
there.
We just did
We
a
have-
free giveaway.
Let's
of the
open up a
shop.
Santa Monica.
Beginning of the
Jump Street
show.
shop.
Oh, like a brick and mortar.
Brick and mortar, brick and mortar. Yeah. If you guys had a brick and Morty, you know what I'm saying? A brick and Morty.
Rick and Morty.
Like Rick and Morty.
I don't know if Austin, you got a couple? Because I got one I want to go ahead. But go ahead, yeah.
There's one that I'm like really, it keeps getting like more and more. Even I see it in a live chat too. And I just found this out about you more recently, Dre, that when we posted about this, a lot of people were like, I remember meeting Dre as a kid. He always showed me mad love. I remember even Dave McNamara from Wheel Scene recently said too, he remembers anytime you guys were on tour in Europe, you were always the last one out in the parking lot talking to all the kids, giving them mad props, hanging out with everybody, making all the kids so happy. And I'm so curious if was like a subconscious thing that you were doing. Were you doing that to purposely show kids that like you could be like a role model or a good person, like passing it down to another generation? Because when you were doing it, I doubt you realized that 20 years later, you know, kids that are adults now always remember that you were like the guy that stayed after the tours and hung out with them and showed them mad love. Like, what was that to you?
Well,
and
that's
how important is that?
Because dope ass people did that to me. Like Marco Hensei did that to me. You know what I mean? Like, I remember hanging out with Marco Hensei like for the fucking whole damn weekend when I was a kid. You know, that same trip when I met Dominic. I was like 13 or 14. I was like 14 or 15, I think. Can't even remember how old I think I was like 14. And so we went to the beach to go watch NIST. I think it was NIST Huntington Beach. And that I met Marco. And Marco just kind of just like, oh, this fool is fucking lit. Like, you can come with me, fool. Da-da-da-da. We just kicked it with Marco Hensei that weekend. You know what I mean? So I remember stuff like that happen, you know? Yes, and that's kind of always been me, though, too. Like, my family has always just been really, like, warm, you know, inviting, welcoming personality, you know? And it's like, I don't want to be on the bus all alone, all bored, you know? And then, like, a lot of times, too, like, you're at demos with a lot of the cool kids, like, they're just, like, you know, they're just there with their parents and stuff like that, too. So you got to be kind of, like, say something positive and stuff like that. As you get older, you start, like, being aware of that, too. Like, you know, like, you're smoking and stuff, like, you want to, like, make sure the parents don't see you smoking and stuff. But you don't want to be a bad role model because, you know, that shit can leave a bad taste in somebody's mouth for real. Yeah, little kids too. Like, I know if somebody would have been a dick to me, I'd be like, "Fuck you." You know what I mean? Like as I got older, you know, for sure. Because like I don't know, I was just kind of like that. So I remember like that shit with Marco will probably be the biggest. I remember like time when that really stood out. I remember Ezekiel Anderson was my counselor at Woodward, and Jason Marshall was my counselor too. So they were super humble guys. You know what I mean? So they were just super dope. And like I remember just them that time being like, you know, being something that stood out to me. I would always want to just treat people like how I would want to be treated. I think more so than anything, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to bring up, Austin, because I have always noticed that about you, Jay. You've always been like such a warm person, like, and open and like friendly toward everyone. And, you know, when people had questions or even on tours, like when people come up and young kids want to talk to you, you always made the time and, you know, just like treated people with respect. And, you know, I think there's a deeper thing to that. Like, I think it goes to like how you were raised. I think it's like goes to like kind of where you're from, like where you see people like, and like, so, cause I've always seen that in you and I've always like respected
mom
that.
too. You remember my mom was like that too. She was
absolutely.
she was really like just straight up like old school Puerto Rican, but she had a lot of like new age spirituality kind of like, you know, roots as well. So she was always just like, yo, make sure that you show everybody respect, and you know what I mean. You walk in the room, you command respect, but you also give respect to everybody. You know what I mean? Don't look down your nose on nobody. You know.
Exactly. It was always like treat the janitor and the CEO the same, you know? Yeah.
Right. That could be God in disguise, you know? I believe in that shit. Like angels and shit can be in disguise, you know? So you never know who the fuck's watching you. You know what I mean? The homeless dude is really could be really like on some angel shit and you don't know it. He's just in disguise. You know? So it's just crazy.
And also at the end of it, man, like a gesture like that goes a long way, you know, and you never know how like much of an impact that's going to have, and clearly, it has had an impact on people who have like spoken about it today, and I could speak about it for me. Like I remember when I was looking up to some pro skaters when I was young, coming up skating, and bladers weren't really nice to me or couldn't give me the time versus the ones who did, and just how much of an impact that gave me, how much that encouraged me. So I think it's like important to pay it forward. And I feel like you've always had that.
Absolutely. And I like that's another reason why I'm proud of like you and Austin, because you guys are always real as fuck. And I feel like you always had a great mind, head on your shoulders, you know, Billy. And so so it's good to see you like eating off this shit. If anybody could have made this happen, like with Jump Street, you and Austin were the ones that had to do it, bro. And it's like it's no wonder why you guys are having the success that you're having, because you guys are fucking, that's who you guys are, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I think that goes into anything that you do in art. Like, you know, if you can fake it, you know what I'm saying, it'll work for a little while. But like if it's like really you, people are gonna feel it. You know what I'm saying? And like it's just like when you hear a song and you're like, oh, this song kind of sucks. It's like everything is good on it. Like the fucking music, the way they recorded it, everything is good, but it just doesn't feel real. Like, you know what I'm saying? There might be like about some shit that they don't really live, but you could feel it when somebody ain't really lived it. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Thank you about that, Dre. And that was like a huge thing, a huge motivating part, at least on my side of things, why we did the podcast in the first place, that you get to see skaters in videos and magazines and whatever, TV at the time, but you don't really get to know like the person themselves too much. Right. And this gives people a platform to like appreciate who the people that they've been idolizing their whole lives have been, especially because a lot of us are now upper 30s or 40s even. Right. And now like we look back on 20 whatever years ago, you know, maybe watching your section in, you know, VG19 or whatever, you know, and it's like, oh, wow, this is the guy that, you know, we've been looking up to for all these years. He's fucking awesome now, you know?
Yeah, I love that shit. That's another thing. Like I remember when YouTube first came out, right? And so I remember when the internet first came out, like Mike Murda Johnson messaged me when I was like 13 years old, or maybe it was like, are you Dre Powell? The Matrix. I swear, dude. Shit, like, oh, how you get my aim, motherfucker? I didn't even give you my aim. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Follow the white rabbit.
Yeah, dog. So like the aesthetic, like I would ride around in the car and I would just listen to my music, even like my own music, and go skate and stuff. So just making skate sections and coming home and watching your footage, like that's what we love to do, you know? So it's like as the game has gotten more progressive, it's only getting funner. Cameras are getting better. Like nobody gives a shit really about skating anymore like that. You remember like in the late 90s and early 2000s, people were like chasing you down and tackling you and all that stuff. Like if you go skating, you know, when we were younger, it was like just like aggressive. Like now you might get arrested, but you're not running. You know, we're older. You know what I mean? We're like, okay, here.
Yeah.
Skating, okay, get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? It's a totally different level of like intensity. You know what I'm saying? Now, so
for sure.
Glad I'm still here, man. We lost some good skaters, you know. Edwin from Hell, like a lot of other fucking dope ass skaters. Brian Bell, you know what I mean? A lot of dope ass people. I feel like they should still be here, like helping, you know, to do shit in the game. So, you know, it's up to all of us to take it to the next level, you know. And I'm glad you guys like did it in providing a platform for everybody to come and talk and like to be themselves. That's important, you know.
Yeah, it's just honestly, I think it's just I appreciate that. It's just like good to be in contact and like have access to get to like talk with everyone and share that. So thank you.
I watch a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of podcasts. Like I love watching the boxing ones. Like I love watching Joe Rogan.
Do you watch Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson?
Yeah, I love Mike Tyson's Hot Boxing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's amazing, like how everything has changed. You know, like just the internet, and it's just such a streamlined way of entertainment and media. So it's dope to see you guys taking that to the next level, and this is such a cool, slick little setup y'all got too. So I'm like, I'm mad my camera's not as good as y'all.
Oh yeah, thank you, bro.
You got the skate figures on in the background.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was thinking about putting you on the spot, but I think I'll skip it and we should just go straight to questions for Patreon. What do you think?
So yeah, whatever y'all want to do.
Cool. I think we should. We got. We're probably gonna have some questions, and then maybe some in the audience, and then that'll
I gotta
be
go get. I gotta
that'll
go
be
get.
probably 2 hours. So, and then we'll have to do
Yeah.
the. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, let's jump into. We have Patreon questions. If you're a member of our Patreon, you get time ahead of our podcast to ask our guest questions that we do on the show. We'll get to a few of them right now before we do the live super chat ones. But first one from Smiley Mosley, who says, "Carolinas represent. What are some of your favorite hidden? What are some of your favorite hidden gem skate spots in the Carolinas? I know Storm Thurman Ledges is probably number one."
Wow, those are good ones, dude. The Trump Thurman, that's in South Carolina, I think, right? Smiley, shout out Smiley too, man. That's the homie too. Smiley rips it. I think did Smiley answer? Can I see? I don't know if I can see the chat.
No, this is from Patreon. He asked this the other day.
Oh, okay. So yeah, probably yeah. Strom Thurman is one of them. I believe it's in South Carolina. That's it. We just got really, really, really good skate spots too, like in Charlotte, like in Atlanta. Because of the way that the hills are like rolling hills, you get like this really sweet geography. The parks are really beautiful and like you have a lot of really cool skate spots. So yeah, that Kmart was probably one of the best rails that we ever had. The Kmart rails that were like,
Oh yeah, I love that rail.
dude, remember those, dude?
Yes.
We're so sick.
What was Kmart rails?
The red rail that was like in a lot of Dre's early stuff. It was mellow down like some big stairs, and it was just superheroes, all the stuff.
I gotta keep an eye out now.
Bro, it was probably about like a knee high. It should have been at least like a 20 stair, but it was like over maybe like 11 stairs. So the stairs were like each like probably 3 feet stairs. So they were like long stairs.
Yeah.
And it was mellow, dude. And then there's a fence on one side. Like Tim Taylor, I think, did like some stuff like grind over and then jumped over the fence. It was just a perfect spot. We fucked the grass and everything up there, dude. Like so bad. Like I can't believe that like they just let us skate it. Like because it was just in this weird sweet spot too, where it was like on public kind of sidewalk going into the Kmart parking lot, and so we just skated that, and like nobody gave a shit until they did, and then started tripping. But Selectron rails, you remember Selectron Fish? They were like those weird. They were also like
mellow. At the college?
No, they were like mellow. They were mellow like handicap bank rails. I mean, there was no stairs. There were just one mellow one, and then that goes down like kind of like probably like I don't know like 60-degree angle. And then there was another one that was like
there was concussion rails. I remember those.
rails. Mm-hmm. That's why I got a concussion there as a little kid.
I know.
Yeah, that's like I had got my first concussion there, dude, and like that also like comes into play, dude, right? Like you falling and being able to power through those injuries. Some people quit when they get hurt really bad. They don't come back from it.
Yeah.
But concussion rails, absolutely, that was a great spot. And we skated those up until that building. I don't even know if it's still there. Panther ledges in front of the Panther Stadium. Fucking hell, that place was incredible.
UNC Charlotte was out of control, obviously.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. UNC Charlotte. 12 stair at UNC Charlotte. The 12 stair was like
12 stair was epic. Yeah,
like a playground, dude. It was like a skate park. The campus, the center, that bridge center, like fucking phallus structure in the middle of it. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like that giant fucking
the thing that you jumped in. You skated in the Second Regime video. You jumped into it, and out of it had like a dish in it. Right?
Yeah, me and
a platform.
Dominic skated it.
You and Dominic skated it. Yeah.
That's definitely one of my favorite spots. That set slide pad that everybody's always like.
Is that thing still there?
Where?
Is that thing still at UNC Charlotte? The set slide pad that you and Dominic skated?
Yeah, it's still there.
That's an epic spot.
I'm going back. I'm going back next month to go film. Like, so Tack wants me to fly in, and I'm gonna go work on some scroll stuff. So I don't know if we're gonna shoot a team or what we're gonna do, but he's like,
you're gonna film some skating. We got some new skating coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I skate like at least once or twice a week. I've been skating a lot more with my boy Kelly Lennon, and they got the crew called Lunch Crew. So I've been skating with Lunch Crew. So they skate like around 12, which is like the Lunch Crew. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, so you got who's all been skating? Who's all been going? Chavo, yeah, Chavo's been showing up. The other homie, Max.
Yep, Max.
Yeah,
Mike.
So Kelly Lennon, Mike. It's like a little crew. It's hard. It was like hard to find people that skate in Santa Monica like that. Because I live like in a really random spot in Santa Monica. So it's just like everybody else, I think, lives further away. But yeah, I skate. So I've been filming, like, I don't know, I've been trying to feed my gram. My other gram is East of the Sun. So on East of the Sun, there's been a lot of videos, and I'll just go out and just kick it. You know what I mean? But obviously, I don't want to, like, get hurt and not be able to drive home. And then I was, like, working on my car. I fucked my car up, so I couldn't drive over the last little bit. But yeah, so Tack was like, I want to fly you back and do some traditional stuff, just straight up having a filmer on you. Like, because I've been filming all my own shit, So he's like, I'm going to fly you in. We're going to get 2 cameras. What Reedsky's supposed to edit some stuff, and I think me and Phil are gonna try to put out some shit. Yeah, so it's great. Like, still being able to have opportunity to skate. Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Can't wait for that shit. We got a bunch of. Let's do a bunch of these more Patreon questions and live chat questions while we have you here. Tree Rudolph asked, if you had to choose a blader to be reincarnated as, who would it be?
Damn.
Tree with the questions.
If I had a blader that I could be reincarnated to come back, who would it be? Fuck, man, I don't know, bro. Probably like Latimer or Feinberg or something like that, or Petty, I would say.
Good choices.
Yeah, maybe Louis. Louis Zamora, VG, VG10 or VG8. What was that? Like
VG14. Yeah.
This section was 14.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
VG14, Louis Zamora.
I mean, Louis Zamora now is still like up there. He's still fucking. His skating is the same. It's so fucking good still.
Julio, I mean, he's the timeless wonder of Julio, right?
Yeah, for real.
Good. The first magazine I ever bought was John Julio doing a Rocketfish Rain, and it said the Messiah of street skating on it. Do you remember that one? It was inline skating.
The Messiah of street skating. I love the language they used in the mid '90s. It was so sick. Like, just everything had to be like so big, like so sick.
I'm gonna get to the last Patreon question, then we'll go to the live chat. If we kind of spoke about this, but do you have anything else to add? I guess you could let it go. But Matt Bednarek asked, VG19 will always stick out as a core memory time in skating. There was a great shot of you rolling through fall colors in the intro that works so well with the music. Do you happen to have any interesting stories from back in those days? So we kind of talked about the VG19 stuff, but was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
VG19, let me think of some more interesting stories from that time. I would have to think about it, but yeah, VG19 shit was crazy. Just the whole like fact of the Reedsky just showed up at my house and I didn't know who he was, or I didn't remember talking to him. And he just like knocked on the glass. Maybe we talked on AIM. Boom, 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 boom. What's up, Dre Powell? I'm Reedsky. I'm here to come film you. Please don't kill me. No, he wasn't like that. He was definitely like super, super confident. It wasn't like he was scared or anything like that, but he was definitely like very strange, like having some white dude knocking on your back door. You know what I mean? And like in the hood, and like that was my dog. And like, yeah, so that was probably the just craziest thing, that like once you start skating and start devoting yourself to that, or something that you're passionate about, like other people will start, conspiring with you to make you, better and get better and shit like that too. So I think that was dope because without Reedsky, I would have never probably gotten that 19 section, to begin with, so that's what, yeah, for sure.
That's dope.
Meeting James Reedsky for sure was probably the dopest time, like one of the best stories. Because like, think about it, like we were little kids, dude, but I was like already partying, like smoking weed, you know what I mean, like going crazy. So I was like a lot of stuff I don't remember, but I remember like going to Virginia Beach and kicking it with Chris John. Do you remember Chris John by any chance?
Yeah,
Chris John back in the day from Virginia Beach. So I remember going there and just like Chris John was so dope, dude. I remember just going and kicking it with that fool. And also, I think, how can I forget VG19 days? Remember when Reedsky took us up to New York? You remember that first trip when I went up and met you guys as kids? You remember, Billy?
Yeah.
That was like around that time too. You know what I mean? Like VG19 days, like, like leading up to that, at least I feel like, because Reedsky was picking us up and taking us everywhere, So VG19, that's why like that shit was so, I think that was definitely one of my best sessions. But also VG19 too, another thing that stands out was that I made a list. And I wonder where this list is, but I made a list of tricks. And every trick on that fucking list, I did every one. You know, it wasn't nothing
First of all, I love that approach. It's such like a certain era of an approach. Like you make a list of the chicks you want to do on a piece of paper, and you cross it off. It's so sick.
It was so dope. Like, you know, I had like, because Tom Heiser also would be like telling me stuff too. Because that was another thing. Tom, you know, was one of the ones that kind of like mentored me as a kid. And Tom was like, without a shop sponsor at that point in time, you couldn't get a boot sponsor, you know? So you had to have a skate shop sponsor in order to get a boot sponsor. So I spent a lot of time with Tom. And so Tom would be like that too, like for the skate pile stuff that we were doing and for anything that we do with physics. He was like, yo, have that list done. You know what I mean? So then that way it's just fucking easy, you know? And so, yeah, like I said, nothing was too crazy. It's like looking back on it, like, I'm like, damn, I'm glad I didn't get hurt because some of those tricks are like fucking crazy, you know? Like True Top Style on, or actually, I don't know if that was in the VG19 section, but yeah, like the death rail, even just like skating the death rail. We used to call that the death, like the weird drop black rail that I front torqued, I think in VG19.
Oh, so, yeah.
Oh, yeah, with the stick at the end.
Yeah, I think there was like, I can't remember if it had a kink at the end or not, but I know that it was like, yeah,
we're about to watch it in the Patreon.
Yeah, hold those thoughts. So. We'll watch that afterwards.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, so I see a couple of questions here. We're going to take two of them. I just thought I am going to put you on the spot because I want to bring it up. So I'm going to go back to that, and then we're going to do shout outs. So just a couple more, and we'll let you go. But real quick, the first question that I got that I think is. Where is it? I just had it set up and it moved because it was in a conversation. I'm sorry. Okay, Chris Crowder says, question for Dre. How much does hip hop influence your skating? Always been a fan of your style. P.S. Would you like to be a judge at Crowder Power next year?
Yeah,
shout out Chris Crowder.
Yeah, shout out Chris Crowder and all of the success with everything that he's doing. I was supposed to go to Crowder Power competition last year. I know Will wanted me to go out there, and it just didn't work out. I think I was still in school or whatever the case may be. No, yeah, Chris, we just got to, like, plan it out because, like, I've been just almost finishing this associate's degree. So I could have made it out there, actually. But, yeah, for sure. Let me know. I'm definitely pull out. I want to skate and judge. I don't know if I can do both. I just want to go. Go skate. Yeah, no, shout out Chris Crowder. No, but what was the question again, Chris? What was it again?
Just how much it had influenced hip hop in your skating. I kind of think we went through it on the podcast as well, but like, yeah, if you want to go to the
hip hop for sure, dude. Like Outkast, man, come on now. Yeah, like Outkast and like like it's weird too because like some people might not consider Southern rap hip hop, right? But like our shit, that's definitely hip hop. I mean, you got
I never heard that.
I mean, like
that's definitely hip hop.
Rapper motherfuckers, like they don't think like Southern shit, you know what I mean? Like would be like same time I remember like kind of Northerners like that didn't know about like 8 Ball and MJG or the country shit, like the people like that could really rap from down there, you know what I mean? That were necessarily street. But Outkast I thought was kind of like that fusion, of the future and the past with the South. I mean, we have Wu-Tang too. So yeah, it's had a huge influence on my skating for sure. Music and just all around, every style of music, has had a big influence, but hip hop for sure. Because of breakdancing, I think too. Now with the Olympics, you heard breakdancing is going to be in the Olympics. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I heard about that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude. So I was telling somebody earlier. Yes, dude. So I'm like, dude, rollerblading has got to get in the Olympics. Like we have 4 years until the Olympics will be. When is this coming up? Like the end of this year? When is it again? What date? Look it up.
I have no idea.
I think is it this year? 2024? Am I wrong? 2026? I don't know. I don't want to act like I follow the Olympics. I remember 1996 had the Olympics, right? And I got
Kelly looking it up. It's going to be this year.
Okay.
And then in 4 more years, then the Olympics is going to happen in LA. So rollerblading, we could get in the Olympics, right? We can get in there.
Tough.
Man, I would love to see that. I feel like Fortnite might make it in there before us, but I would love to see it.
Yeah, breakdance.
I wouldn't doubt it, bro.
Pogo stick into some shit.
But hey, listen, pogo sticking should go though, but not before us.
Any sport can go, bro. Any sport can go.
Yeah, any sport can go.
But you have to have I think you have to sign up for it to be a federation, and then so you have to have representatives in every
already working on that. We're already working on that. We're already working on that. That's some new thing we're working on. But we'll get into that in a bit. Quick, we'll take this one last question, and then I'll put you on the last couple.
Gotcha.
Jane says, "Who's your favorite newer blader, or favorite blader still shredding the game now? Also, are you planning to make it to any future First Sundays?"
Yeah, I'll start with the first question or the first Sunday first Sunday. I gotta see, dude. I gotta do a repair to my car right now. I was working on it yesterday, so it just depends on if I can drive there because I don't like taking my girl's car all the time. I like to drive the first Sunday because Richard does them normally like not that close to my house, so I'll have to drive like at least like 10 miles or so to get certain places both ways. But yeah, no, definitely first Sunday. I want to go to all of them. I know that like some of them are kind of far, and although I only have one class this semester, it's marine biology, so it's a lab class, so it's like I got to do a studying. Yeah, like this weekend I'm going to.
You don't look like a guy who would be taking a marine biology class. I gotta be honest.
I love science.
But I know you as a super smart guy, so like,
yeah,
I just find it funny to try to picture you in a marine biology class.
Dude, it's dope. I mean, if you think about it, it's swimming and it's with animals, so it's like
right.
You're dealing
that
with
makes sense.
Animals and like hands-on with really weird animals, dude. Like, but obviously, like we're going tide pulling this weekend in Morro Bay, so it's gonna be sick. If anybody wants to go,
that's dope.
Morro Bay. Yeah, so the whole class. So we're gonna be like walking around, like checking out all the different animals, and then we have to write like a little paper about it. It's super easy. Like,
that's dope, though.
Yeah. So, but it is time consuming. So the first Sunday shit, like I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Like this. I gotta just check because first Sunday's coming up. I know that's probably why he's asking. And then what was the second question?
It was. It's one of the two. Do you have a favorite newer blader or a favorite blader who's still around? Still.
I like Jae Yoon. I like a lot of the Korean kids that are coming up. They're fucking dope as shit. I like obviously I like Dyaki Diabo. It's just crazy flips and stuff. I like Yugen, which Yugen's not really necessarily the most newest, but he's fucking raw, dude. And I skated against Yugen before in a competition in Germany in the rain. This motherfucker did in-spin front torque to topsail and down a rail in the rain on some slippery floor shit. I was like, dude, forget about it. This kid is so different. Good. Yeah. And like now that his shit's getting like to where it's getting, like I'm super stoked on his skate because it just like makes me want to just be weirder too, Montre is looking so sick. Who else is sick? I mean, there's just a lot of good skating right now, dude. I don't know. What's the kid's name? John Forever, obviously. I was like, John stopped skating for a while. I think it was good. Because everybody goes through that, dude. Like, I went through that, too. Especially when you're famous, as they say, for something like you don't even understand at a young age. It's like, makes it weird. You're like, oh, is this all I am, to be or not to be? That is the question, right? And just only this one thing that people can just, like, look at for fucking entertainment, It can kind of get weird, So I'm glad that John skating and came back to skating hard, again. Who else is ripping right now? Dude, Kelly Lennon. I just gave my boy Kelly Lennon. Shout out him. He's one of my favorite new guys. He's coming up. I'm trying to think. Who's been ripping it, dude? I don't know. Throw some names out there, and I'll tell you if I like them.
No, I think you covered a good amount of ground there.
John Cooley. Shout out to Cooley. Shout out to Blake. All my Carolina boys. Zach Savage. Shout out Zach Savage.
Yeah, sick one. Too. All right, I think that's fair. A couple of things. One, we're going to do shout-outs, but before we do, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm sorry. I'm going to do it as a friend, but I have to ask.
Go ahead.
Okay. Can we talk about the face tattoos? I'm sorry. Is that like like what? Like when did we decide this? I'm sorry.
So my homegirl passed away, I think, right? Well, no. First, I got the empathy tattoo. No, take it back. First, I got the little peep heart on my face. That was when Peep died. So, and it's funny, and it's a funny kind of joke at the end of this. So, beside the tattoos on the face, right? So, I had the broken heart. Then, when Peep died, because that shit fucking crushed me, dog. It's like when you see your first, like, he was my tenant, dude, landlord. I was his landlord, bro, or the property manager, right? And so to see somebody that like was fucking sleeping on the floor, struggling, and then blow up, like that, as hard as he did, and be as cool. Yeah, Peep.
Yeah. He was in that building, right? That we lived at.
he would be over there.
Yeah.
They would all be over there. Yeah, at some one point in time, and then he was at I was his landlord at 443. But yes, they would be in that building. Yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
Smoke Sack, his producer and Cortex lived in that one unit downstairs on the first floor. You know what I'm talking about? Where
Yeah.
Mikey Cortez, you know Mikey Cortez?
Yeah. That's Mikey's place. Yeah.
So Mikey's place with Jonas and all them from the Blackhearts. So yeah, so that building too. You remember that building was crazy. Like we had Vince Klein lived upstairs. Like that was wild. Like from fucking
Yeah.
Vince Klein, I'm world champion surfer. So
Yeah.
that building had a Lamborghini outside with graffiti all over the Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Remember it?
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Parked
Yep.
Lamborghini outside with no top on it, and there's just
The
graffiti.
Growlers live there. They subleased to us. We were subleasing from the Growlers.
Right. And so like that time too, like you guys were taking care of me, dude. Like I was spending all my money to like just barely like to live. Like I was like paying my rent money, and like we didn't make that much money from Andy, So like paying the rent, one place like that, didn't have that much money to do everything. But yeah, no, I mean it's been crazy, bro. It's been a journey.
Was it too much? I just feel like as a friend, I wanted to ask you about that, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
All of it, and then so I got the Halo. So the Halo, that was when my homegirl passed away. So I got the Versace Halo. That's when I became Versace Halo. Then the empathy also too, like empathy. I got that one second. I would say that's from the 4 pillars of empathy in film. So in film, right? And I kind of like my shits are not gang tattoos. Like all my shit are like more spiritual tattoos. Like more
Right.
of like Indian tattoos, right? In essence, like the empathy is from the 4 pillars of empathy in film, right? To create the suspension of disbelief, we use admiration, recognition, acknowledgement, and pity, right? And pity is the strongest one, So the 4 pillars, that's how we get people to sit in the seat, you know what I mean? When you're writing a script and stuff. So that's why I got the empathy, because it had a really profound effect on me, Then one of my boys like, oh, I'm empathy 2.0. Ever since I got the empathy, where is it? Niggas be like, oh, I'm getting the empathy tattoos. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, and then like Mortland would be like, oh, just get more tattoos. He's like, you need to get more tattoos and you just get famous.
Yeah.
We have Mort in my head too. Like,
Moreland.
Yeah.
That's cool. We were doing real estate and we're blasted and we're doing real estate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, super
No,
awesome.
that's what I mean. You're kind of in fields where I feel like you might be like, I know you long enough to know that who you are and your spirit and everything like that. And I think it's always an important lesson to like not judge a book by its cover. But I think like when you're working in like a field like real estate or something like you said, you're in a marine
Yeah.
biology class, you're doing these things that maybe it might be, I don't know, like some people might have some certain ideas. And like it's good that you're clarifying. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you're like walking around, like especially like in my neighborhood, like I live in a pretty rich neighborhood, so it's like I'm walking around and like people are like, get scared or
Yeah, you're
sketched
in
out.
Santa Monica, dude. Santa
Yeah.
Monica's rich as hell. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just be super nice to people, like and just talk to people. If you're like shy and like weird and shit, especially with like tats and stuff like that, then people are gonna be like, oh, what's this fool up to?
Yeah,
Like,
especially in LA, you know what I mean? There's a lot of gangs in LA, so yeah.
especially with the gang stuff, But like the
Yeah.
citizen, they're like, oh, this nigga's not gang man. This nigga's a weird ass artist. Leave this weird ass. You know what I'm saying? So I just try to be weird as so that people like won't bother me, But I think eventually I'll fucking take all this shit off and go on some corporate shit. I mean, it's not that expensive to do.
Or you could just be corporate just like that and just be the new age corporate.
True. I mean, I think just for my own, I might take them all off eventually. Like I did a movie recently. One of my classmates casted me in this movie. It's coming out. It's called I don't even remember the fucking name of it. But it's about South Central, and it's about like fucking some crazy like rapper, and I played this rapper in it. But anyways, the airbrush artist was there. And she airbrushed my whole fucking face. I was like, yeah, take off my tattoos. I want to see what it looks like. She took off all my tattoos. I was like, fuck, I'm going to get my shit taken off. I look like a fucking again. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, I love my shit just because it was a journey, Like
no, totally. It speaks to part of your life, but yeah.
Absolutely. And like the characters too I was playing, like I was making this character for my documentary. So it was like I had to have all of the tattoos to kind of match the aesthetic of the character that I was doing. You know what I mean? So and then Flo, my mom's name was Flo. So that's how the flow state stuff started kind of happening, you know what I mean? And then like just through meditation to, who cares what you look like, you know? But the face tat thing, that's funny. That was a great question.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, I felt like it's like not talking about the elephant in the room if we're like trying to get to know who you are and like the things you've been through, you know? I don't, like I said, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything like that, but I feel like
Not
maybe
at
it's the
all. I
elephant
love
in the room a little
crazy
bit.
shit. No, I'm always we love talking about crazy shit. You know, it is one of those things. I mean, this is the legendary. This is a meander right here. So I didn't know. Like my friend gave me the Versace Halo. Well, she passed away, but she gave me a pair of Versace's shoes one time, and she was balling. And so her name was Emily Pageant. And so when Emily gave me the shoes, I was like, oh, that was probably like one of the sweetest things anybody had ever done for me. Like just giving me a fucking dope ass pair of shoes. They were like fucking sick. So when she passed away, and we would always be kicking it. Me, her boyfriend are really close, and we'd always just have dope parties there. So when she passed away, I was just like super sad, and I got the tattoo. And so that shit just strengthens you. Like when you have like different tattoos, different spirit armor shit that happens to you, you know, you go through certain
Definitely.
things. Yeah, you get through it. Like that's, you know, resolve. You know what I mean? And then I remember somebody recently. And here's the joke. Somebody's like, "Oh, you only got death and stuff tattooed on your face," and I was like, no, it's not even about that. It's about like, you know what I mean? This is armor, like that is protecting me through that shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same way like Native Americans and the South Pacific Islanders. You know how they have the different tattoos and stuff like that. That's all it is. You know.
I love that.
I like that approach.
And I'm very happy that I asked. But I think it's 2 hours. We've questioned you a lot. I know you have to leave at 1 and we still have to get these quick things in. So I'm going to end this podcast really quick. And me and Austin are going to do that. But before we do, I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to do this. Thanks for being very open. Dre, we're going to tag Dre's. We have the wrong tag for you. His other Instagram is Issa Sun.
That's a good one.
But you also have Issa Sun that we could check out.
Yeah, I got 2 of them. That one's probably has more followers on it, but I was changing the name a lot just to fuck with people, just to fuck with the aesthetic. Before I knew I could make a bunch of different names. You know what I'm saying? I was like, fuck, so I could just one day, you know. And that one already had a bunch of like fucking numbers on it. So it's like I didn't pay for any of my followers, you know, like there's people who pay for all that type of stuff. So, you know, just kind of like getting like, you know, social media and then also like branding and brand extensions and stuff. So yeah, that one works for now because that'll get some more. I'll get more followers on that page, you know. And if you go to Powell 704 and you see my other pages tagged, you're more than welcome to follow them. All the people that are watching, etc. If you don't already follow, but make sure you like and subscribe, follow Jump Street, and shout out Austin Paz, for sure.
Dude, thank you. And again, I just want to finish by saying, thank you so much for taking the time, and thanks for being honest. You know, since I've known you, you've had this great spirit and like this great cadence and great approach to life, and always like very honest and confident and secure in who you are, and like been giving energy. And it's great to see that like almost 25 years later, I still the same energy and spirit, and nothing's faded, and you're still a very strong spirited person. So I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come on. For me, you've always been someone that I found inspiration in, and it's sick to see you're still like staying on the true path of the artist and staying true to yourself as a person. So huge shout out for that. But before we completely let you go, do you have any last shout outs or things you want to say?
Yeah, I want to say shout out everybody, to all my friends and family. I want to say shout out to God, you know, God first. Shout out, Damon Franklin, G1. Charlotte Damon. Shout out Santa Monica College and the CMD department, everybody over here. My boy Mario Franco, Julian, Torin, Professor Shaw, all of my professors, Professor Leash, Professor Bardasagi, everybody in the film and media department. Want to say shout out to Jump Street Podcast, shout out to Billy, shout out to Austin, shout out to Razors, shout out to USD, everybody, shout out to big shout out to Montre. Congratulations on the new pro skate. If you need some skates, go get some of those. Go get the new Montre Geminis, or go get some Frankies, or go get some Mesmers, of course. Yeah. And I need a pair of also. If all y'all waiting for the same I'm over here. But yeah, shout out to all my friends and family, like I said. And shout out to my wifey. Shout out to my daughters. Shout out to everybody, bro. And just, you know, I be on the lookout for the new projects coming out soon. So thank you for spending time with me. Whoever's, I don't know how many listeners and followers we have in here, but thank you guys. God bless you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we got like 180 people in here right now. This is awesome.
Shout out to all the listeners and followers for sure.
Dre, you're the man. Thank you so much for coming on. This lived up to the expectations and the hype that everyone in the comments has said before we started. Don't go anywhere, Dre. We're going to do this Patreon video. Everyone else, thank you for watching. Don't forget, like what Dre said, like and subscribe. And if you're a Patreon member, stay tuned. We're going to have a session commentary with Dre going up in the next few days. But other than that, we'll see you next week. We got another episode on Wednesday coming up, and we'll see you then. Peace. Oh, that's not it.
Oh, it's okay.
Oh, it's me. Bye, everybody. Like and subscribe.